And we are live. Welcome to Fanboy Modeling School. Welcome to Fanboy Modeling School, land of the forsaken. I am the Fat Mantis, and I am here with
your man Steve. Real name, no gimmicks. Your friend right. Till the end.
We are the hostess with the mostest, and welcome to coming to a very special Tuesday Fanboy Modeling School. Yesterday, I was the one who called it off. My sixth sense said, nothing's happening in the news today.
Yes.
Go to sleep. Something will happen tomorrow that we'll have to talk about.
It's FOMO. It's FOMO premonitions.
Right. That's my slide. That's my slide. If I was an X-Man, that would be my power.
Good on you. Audio's good. Video's good.
We look amazing. I got to say that.
I figured out what was wrong with my internet last week. I was trying to back up my iPhone. You know me. I always start messing with shit right before a show.
I know. Boy, do I know.
So I plugged my iPhone up to back up to my computer, and apparently I had USB tethering on, which means my computer was trying to use my phone's internet as a hotspot. So, yeah, none of that tonight.
Basically, I've had the same settings for the last 9 years. And like there's a pile of dust eating my mixer, but people are like, you should dust. I'm like, don't touch it. Don't touch anything.
Leave it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is. Don't fiddle with anything. I'm slapping hands away. Matt says, hail Fat Mantis, hail Steve.
Hail Matt, Shaolin Iceberg Boxer in the house.
Shaolin Ice Boxer, man. It is a great day to be a DC fan, and we're going to get into all of that tonight. We're going to discuss the business side. We're going to discuss Black Adam, and off of DC, because of Halloween, we're going to be discussing the latest episode of Interview with a Vampire, which needs to be discussed.
Yes, thick episode, thick.
Oh, thick.
I'm going to say this
the way I like my women.
Thick and bitter. No. I'm going to preface the interview talk with this. This is the way you do social commentary, because this was a bone-chilling episode, man. It was it was. I got to be honest.
We'll talk about it. We're going to save that for last, but I have I have things to say about that episode.
You have things to say. Okay.
Shaolin says DCEU rising from the dead. Yo, let me give a toast to DC Studios. They're now called DC Studios. I love it.
Shout out to the unofficial sponsor, the 9.9% beer. Got to pick you up some of these, my friend. You only need 2. The third one will definitely get you to a point where you're like, and another thing.
And our secondary sponsor, pineapples. Pineapples will get you laid with weirdos, but they'll get you laid.
Pineapples, the laziest fruit that ever did exist.
Oh, those disgusting pineapples. No, I am not a swinger. I just like my pineapple, especially on my pizza. We've got a public friend. Welcome in.
Excited, not excited, but excited for the interview with a vampire.
I was trying to figure out what they were saying. They said,
I get it, Pubs. That's that North Cal talk right there. That's that North Cal talk. I get it. I'm with you.
So, Fat Mantis, if you were an X-Men, you'd be Destiny. Lame. Well, no, I can only detect FOMO situations.
FOMO.
I'm like, should I go to the party? I'm like, it's gonna be lame. And
I don't think you've ever turned down the party. I don't think you've ever had the wherewithal. I think I was the one that used to say, we're gonna get fucked up if we go into this party. Not physically. I'm like, we're gonna get too messed up, and then we're not gonna be able to remember where the haven is. And you guys are like, chill, man, it's gonna be fine. Next thing I know, we're all blubbering, trying to figure out where the A train is.
Yeah, I have some really bad FOMO. It has put me in bad, shady situations and just bad parties. Like, it has led me to really lame parties before.
You got to turn a lame party up. That's what I say, man.
And guys are like, "Can we go now?" I'm like, "Yo, I swear, women will show up any minute now."
Well, I'm not gonna
Chess Club invitational or some shit.
I'm not gonna blow up your spot, but you told me one story where you stuck around a party thinking women were gonna show up, and it went terribly bad for you. And I think it's probably one of the funniest stories ever.
It's a pineapple story, but not appropriate for this cast. We will tell it another time if you guys don't know it. That's probably more of a brunch talk. But before we go any further, I would love it for everyone to smash that like button.
Yes, please.
Subscribe to this channel and keep tuning in to Fight Juice Online, but also Fanboy Modeling School. Actually, Fight Juice, we got a very special event coming up. I don't see her in the chat.
Grim.
Yes, but Grim and my man Hold Up are going to be having an interview with a vampire debate.
Yes.
Referencing the novels.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be happening. When can we expect that?
As soon as we can get Grim on the on the chat, get that figured out, And listen, remember, you heard it here first. I did not come looking for this fight. All you perverts in the chat that want these vampires to be having sex, you demanded this. You demanded this. And we're not going to go by the spirit or interpretation. We're going good old school Republican. We're going by the letter of what's written.
But, yo, the thing is,
go ahead.
The thing is that you're. It's funny that you should say that. You're like, oh, you want these vampires to be having sex and blah blah blah. Now, here's what I think was wrong about the latest episode is because now that they've opened the door of vampires having sex, it's gone terribly wrong.
It's gone. Well, let's get into the show. We'll figure out the thing with Grim. Let's talk about this breaking news. I'm bringing out my old school Request Box Live radio voice for you here.
Look at you,
folks. Black Mantis and Black Hold Up went to go see African American Adam this past Friday. Went to a nice, clean theater. No thug shenanigans. I'm just going to say that I had an amazing time, and I was sick as hell that night. I was fighting to stay conscious the entire time we were eating dinner, but that movie woke me back up. You're right. Your review was accurate for the first time ever.
Thank you.
The minute The Rock steps on the screen in Black Adam, shit kicks off, and it keeps going, and it went in the right direction for me. This was a superhero movie about a guy doing superhero shenanigans, the type of shit I needed, as you stated, to cleanse the palate of desperate attempts to bring conversations into mediocre writing and make me think. When in actuality, all you got to do is give me entertainment, and that will make me think if it makes sense. I knew that we were in for a good time when The Rock ripped a guy's arm off in this movie.
It is like he dropped it like you drop a mic.
It was amazing.
I will say, like, for instance, this was a great escape from superhero shows that try to explore episodes that are like, you superhero fans ever wondered what it's like to get a divorce? And shouldn't the man have to pay the woman 50% of what he makes? And you have to ask yourself, does that belong in a superhero show? Do I really need to explore that for 30 minutes?
No.
and she'll continue to dive into things that I don't care about. So this is a great palate cleanser where you can turn your mind off. The Rock enters the show, does not stop fighting and killing until the very end.
I would also like to go on the record and disagree publicly, with all due respect, with Grace Randolph's review of Black Adam in the portion when she said this was not Black Adam from the comics. This was categorically wrong, and it leads me to believe that she's never read any of the two-dimensional writing, which is Black Adam. The Rock was Black Adam from DC. When has he ever had a really deep thought other than, you fuck with mine, I'm going to kill you. You come too close to mine, I'm going to kill you. In fact, I'm coming over there where you are, and then I'm going to kill you.
Well, I want to accuse that person you just mentioned of all sorts of stuff. But one of the things that I say is that I believe that there was a certain level of propaganda to this person's review, and they didn't believe half the things they were saying. They have an agenda. And that's where that was coming at, because they were coming out with complaints that I was like, what planet are you on?
Yeah, the whole conversation about this should have been an opportunity for commentary on the situation in the Middle East. Well, that was well done, but let's not forget this is a work of fiction. This is a work of fiction, right? We are seeing Middle Eastern people in an oppressed state. What more did they want? I believe at one point in her interview, she wanted to see the female actress, the female lead, Rock Adjacent, become ISIS. And I was like, why do we need all this character development? And hold it. Wrap your mind around this. The movie was not named Black Adam and Friends. It wasn't Black Adam Introduces. The name of the movie is Black Adam. And that's what I showed up to see. I wanted to see an origin story for this new imagined Black Adam. And in fact, I'll take this version of Black Adam over the classic Black Adam and a new 52 Black Adam, which I think has a great backstory, by the way.
And actually, somebody already did this season. Marvel already in Moon Knight gave the female adjacent character the powers of, the Scarlet Scarab or something.
Right.
The problem is that was the lamest part of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, why are you wasting my time with this? This has, at the last minute, just giving this girl superpowers. It made no sense.
Right.
Wouldn't it rather be done with finesse and nuance in a future edition?
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
Just stuffing it in.
And right away I saw. So wait, let me get your review. Let me get your thoughts. Your thoughts on the movie.
Real quick, Public Francis says, gotta go, but I'll be back for the vampire sex condo. Absolutely. Beck says, what kind of theater snacks did you guys get? We ate fried chicken before.
$6 boxes.
Yeah, we had $6 boxes at Popeyes, and then we didn't get any snacks.
Which I felt I was being discriminated against, not based on race or anything like that. But Mandis and I ordered the exact same thing. He got everything he asked for. This mouth breather didn't give me my hot sauce, and he gave me the wrong type of hot sauce. I'm like,
actually, it was worse. I didn't even tell you, but like, you got your stuff and you left, and you we're missing napkins and forks and all these things. When I got my stuff, he kept saying, "Do you need a hot sauce? Do you need to say utensils?" He was real kissing my ass, and so it was a colorism thing. And
the white skins were sticking together.
You're in the secret society of mulattoes, so. But they made sure they didn't just give me the ghetto hot sauce, because when you went back, you got the ghetto hot sauce. They gave me that buffalo style stuff.
They gave them buffalo sauce. And they gave me the watered down Chinese food hot sauce, and I was like, "What is going on right now?"
Shaolin says the JSA is one of the most well realized teams I've ever seen in live action. They were so well done. Hawkman was amazing. I freaking agree with that. And I love that they kind of skipped over an origin. We get it. They're superheroes. Everyone knows what a superhero is. We don't need all their origins.
No.
They're here to save the day. And I would actually say that I think their interactions made them a better team than, say, any depiction of the X-Men I've ever seen on live action.
Yes.
And probably better than any depiction of the Fan Four or a lot of these supposed teams, Yeah,
because it was like, let's get right into it, right? Let's get right to this is an elite team. They have some loose connections with Amanda Waller, who would have her fingers in everything. We already know that Amanda Waller has her fingers in the Batman pie. Like, who else can summon Bruce Wayne, know who that Bruce Wayne is Batman, to a dinner table, right? So we've had enough universe building to get us to this point. They assume that we know who Hawkman is. They assume we don't care who Dr. Fate or, Cyclone or Atom Smasher are. They're just superpowered beings.
Wait, hold on. Here's the thing. I kind of care, but I don't really care to keep enjoying the movie.
Wait,
I don't want them to stop and be like, by the way, the origin of Dr. Fate is
I don't need that.
7-year-old boy, blah blah blah, whatever.
I don't need. But they assume that you're just gonna take it. They understand that you know how to use the Google machine. You want to know?
And then they can show it either in a future show or movie, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I've always thought that that's how superheroes should do it. I'm going to agree with you. I love this movie. Great palate cleanser. Great. It's nonstop action.
Right.
The plot isn't very complicated, but I'm fine with that. I think sometimes. I'll be honest. I don't go to rock movies to get my brain stimulated. That's why I watched The Crown. So I was hoping for. Actually, you know what it was? I had lowered expectations on how much action I was going to get. I got even more action, and I was like, I'm for it.
Yeah, I want to talk about the disparity, the chasm, the gap.
Real quick, one thing I got to say is that I looked at how much special effects were just done, how much fighting was done, and I was like, this movie must have cost a fortune. And I looked it up. It's 195 million, which is like some Marvel movies are 250.
Right.
And I feel like most of the special effects held up. There
Very
wasn't
much
really any sloppy things. They were constantly using effects and powers, which I love.
Yeah, and his physical prowess really does. I'll say Grace did get something right. The fact that The Rock has done wrestling and amateur bodybuilding competitions. I don't think he actually ever competed. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't follow it that closely.
He's a jack of all trades. Like, for instance, he played college football in a Division I school. Yeah. He wasn't the greatest player, but he was a fine player,
Well, here's the thing. So if we go back to his first movie, The Rundown, you'll remember that it had one of your favorite martial arts actors in there, the kid from Surf Ninjas, Ninja Turtles. I forget the young man's name, but he's an accomplished movie martial artist, and he's a martial artist in real life.
Dan, that movie, I haven't thought about that movie.
It was a great movie. It was a great movie. Even that kid said, and the choreography and the fight choreographer said that The Rock's physical talent is amazing. The fact that he was able to pull off the stuff, which it takes talent to do that. And watching him as Black Adam, do you know what I realized? One, he's an intimidating dude. If The Rock says he wants my egg sandwich, he gets my egg sandwich, and then he's gonna get yours too. I'm gonna smack you, take your egg sandwich, give it to him. The next thing was, man, he really did. I think this might have been the first time I seen The Rock act, like really act, like he pulled off these lines. They were great. They were great.
And so Matt says, yes, I'm glad they didn't have to go into all that. I really liked the fights. I felt they didn't need Sabak, but I loved fighting Intergang and JSL. So here's what I'm saying. It should have could have foreshadowed Sabak a little better. However, when I saw Mystical Crown trying to activate a Mystical Crown, I'm like, a demon is coming.
Yeah,
I feel like that's standard movie, right? That's like,
yeah, absolutely.
When some evildoer's like, I need the ancient artifact and I'm going to put blood on it, some devil is going to come out.
Or someone from the classic Republican Party, or maybe even Nancy Pelosi.
Well, Nancy Pelosi pretty much is a mummy, so that would make sense if she pulled herself out of the ground and was like,
"We're going to protect your rights." Anyway, moving on.
Matt says Amanda Waller can have her fingers in me.
Also, I want you to know that was a trimmed down woman king, Amanda Waller. So she obviously filmed those movies at the same time. You can see the jawline was a little bit more defined. I enjoyed it. It had some great cameos, man. Great movie.
He loves Surf Ninjas, and he says, "Will The Rock take Harley Quinn's egg sandwich?" So I mean, we'll get into we're gonna get into that because that goes into the DC promotion part of the video. But I loved it. Harcourt was in there from Peacemaker. Yeah. I love that. Referencing that show, Amanda Waller was in it enough. I don't need more of her. I'm fine with her being the woman on the other end of the phone call. Right. I'm trying to think what I didn't. Basically, the one thing I didn't like was the little kid with the skateboard.
Yeah.
However, he wasn't in enough of it to really ruin the movie.
No, the scenes he was in, I could tolerate. It wasn't like young Anakin. And even in fact, if I'm being real, even young Anakin wasn't that bad. I jumped on the bandwagon where I was just like, let's hate on a small child. It was just corny and kind of dated. You know what spoiler alert, you know what I really enjoyed? Because there were some scenes that were meant to pull on the heartstrings. And for me personally, being a big mushball, those strings succeeded. There's a point where Black Adam has a kind of redemptive story arc, which gives you a bit of origin story. So I'm not going to spoil that for anyone that hasn't seen the movie. And I was just like, oh, that was a good twist. I enjoyed that twist because it was well shot and well done. I thought this was a good movie, man. But of course, the agenda media, the fake news.
Yeah.
Like the Hollywood Reporter. I mean, here's the thing about premieres. When they make the movie A Fanboy's Life, right? For the premiere, I'm going to be like, I want the fans to have the best seats. And I want the press to have the seats at that one theater behind old Yankee Stadium where the motherfuckers to be shooting people to come out the theater. That's where they get to go watch the movie. Because he gave Grace and them the grade A treatment.
Oh, they always do.
AMC on 42nd Street closed it down. People had individual theaters to go review and enjoy
the circus over there. As if, Times Square wasn't already a circus.
Right.
They turned that area into a circus for the premiere, and I loved it. I just wish I could have been there because I would have been someone who actually appreciated the movie.
Right.
Unlike the assholes who went in. It's down to 39%, but it's holding at 90 from audience score.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Demon Omega says, hello from the graveyard and the Howl and Growl Paranormal. Hello, Demon. Parkour showed up in her Trinity Matrix cosplay. Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. Looking all types of.
I gotta say, Hawkman was amazing.
Yeah.
The whole, all of them were amazing. I would love to see more of them. I really wish that they get a movie. I doubt they're going to get a movie, but maybe an HBO Max series would be dope.
Okay, well, I mean, so that would be dope. The JSA, let's talk about Hawkman for a second, right? You and I were joking about his dexterity and his durability, and obviously Hawkman is just durable enough to get his ass kicked by people way stronger than him. He's like Bishop from the X-Men.
Yes,
Bishop is just strong
Bishop
enough.
has taken some of the greatest ass beatings in life.
Yes.
Poor guy.
He's got his ass whooped by the greatest, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. I really enjoyed the back and forth between Hawkman and The Rock. In fact, it really did sell the fact that Hawkman is this honor-bound, classic JSA era superhero that's like, you don't kill no matter what, even to the detriment of the fact that the Joker has killed close to 1 million people in Gotham, and no
Good work, Batman. Princess Vex is off topic. Does Mantis smash those hoes with the flag on the bed? I actually drape it around me while we're doing it, just to let them know I'm truly an American. They're getting smashed by an American. I don't know if you'll get to it later, but are you going to take any guesses on other people in those underwater prison pods? I mean, there's so many. It just showed how evil Amanda Waller is. There's just a sea of people trapped in the pods. They could, what's cool about that? They can also avoid future origins, and they could just have one or two of them escape, and they could just be any villain we want, and they could just appear in a DC movie, and that works.
That was kind of a Lost Ark type of moment there. Like it's being handled by good people.
Right. And you don't know how deep her evil goes. How many years have these people been in there? Has she been imprisoning people like for 80 to 100 years? You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
Crazy.
Public is accusing you of putting a glory hole in the great American flag to have coitus with your harlots.
Well, I'm not Jewish. Oh wait, that's a sensitive topic these days. I gotta be easy. Also, who's a JSA character you want to see in the next movie? I want Stargirl, who was supposed to be in it until John's got gone. Then they switched to Cyclone. So I assume that they got rid of Stargirl because of the show.
Right.
And I assume they didn't want any mix-up like that. And I respect that they made that decision.
I wouldn't mind seeing classic Green Lantern in a JSA movie, because I think his powers are, especially everything, classic Green Lantern. What's the cat's name? I always forget. You're a Green Lantern shill.
Alan Scott was the first.
Alan Scott. Yeah, because his Green Lantern powers are more magical. Like, he's not even a part of the Lantern Court.
Yes.
He's like, he's OP. If you want to look at an OP character, that guy's OP.
It's all the Golden Agers were OP. Even Golden Age Superman was ridiculously OP. It was.
Yeah, he could shapeshift back in the day.
Oh yeah, he could shoot little versions of himself that would do things for himself. He built a bunch of robots that did shit for him. It was nonsense. I don't know how kids were able to read that stuff back in like. If someone needed to phase, shapeshift, size change, they just could do it. And I was like, okay.
Well, that's when Coca-Cola had real Coke in it. So, think
about it this way. Who thinks the Flash, literally the argument that he can pass through walls is they're like, well, he just vibrates himself. How do you vibrate yourself? Like, what are you talking about? Super speed has nothing to do with vibrating. He's a human vibrator? Like, what are you going on about, bro?
No, Shannon says, I love how Hawkman was righteous, but not too preachy and annoying with it. He had strong conviction and you respect it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Hawkman reminds me much of myself, and you guys are a bunch of little Black Adams, and I'm like, stand on the truth, and you're like, I don't know. The truth is subjective.
Yo, I just gotta say, basically, here's my idea for either a show, or HBO Max show, or a movie.
They
could have the JSA where Hawkman has to bring in the new generation of JSA guys, and they could keep having flashbacks to Dr. Fate and the originals back in the day, like the Spectre and all those guys founding it back in the day, and they could use CGI to make Pierce Brosnan young again for the flashbacks.
Spectre
it would be great.
It would be, they're going to ruin the Spectre. I think I would go with your idea, but I would have the JSA hunt down a Suicide Squadron.
I mean, whatever adventure the new guys have to go on, that's fine. But I like the idea of, because I feel it's a shame that basically the concept is you can clearly see that these guys have been heroes for a long time, and the only two old schoolers are Hawkman and Dr. Fate, and clearly there's a lot of members who have went.
Yeah,
right? And I think it'd be cool to have a flashback to the glory days where they were boys.
Can't say boys.
Why?
They're men. not a bunch of fucking.
I was about to be like, Hawkman's black. It's okay. I can see.
He hit you right in the face with that fucking mace. In fact, he's lived through that era. He's like, boy, bang. Let's talk about Cyclone for a second. Thought I was going to be annoyed by her in Atom Smasher. Thought they were going to completely remove me from this movie. I really enjoyed these two innocent kids and their little back and forth. And
it was cute. It was adorable. It was friggin' cute. I love it. That's another person who could guest star as in the flashback. Henry Winkler as the original Adam.
That was amazing.
His Uncle Al on the phone call. That was adorable as shit.
Yeah. Don't mess up the suit.
I was like, oh, the Fonz was the Adam. Okay. But she's wonderful. Right. I love the way she moved around the screen, because she did like the cartwheels and the twists. She was all acrobatic and weird, like the energy following her and stuff like that. And she's like airy, like an air spirit or whatever. It was well done.
Thought it was great. I really enjoyed the visual on that.
My sister said her greatest.
Go ahead.
My sister said her greatest power is that when she suits up, her hairstyle changes.
Yes.
And it would normally take hours for someone to do that, but so her nanoprobes were probably fixing her hair.
Yeah, they were distributing the conditioner equally throughout her hair. What's the freaking problem? I want a Mazo in one of the pods. A Mazo is too OP, but that would be great. A Mazo is such an underutilized character.
He's too powerful, man. He can absorb the powers of everyone, but he gets the Rogue. At least they wear off. He gets to keep them.
Yeah,
they
used to wear off with Rogue. I'm pretty sure she can tap into him. Oh no, I'm thinking of Sync. Sync, they were also temporary, but now Sync can also tap into them.
Oh wow, I think that's OP. That is a mistake, man. I like when the few times they've stuck around with Rogue, I like that she had to have the consequences of truly draining their life force and staying with them. But it should at least wear off. I think Mazo's just too OP.
Another thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the dynamic between Hawkman and Dr. Fate. I actually felt like they were friends. I felt like they were brothers in arms. Yeah,
they were boys, man. They were absolute boys. They'd seen a lot, and they really had general concern for each other. That's what I'm saying. The dynamic between the four of them is a better superhero team dynamic than I have seen in years of watching superhero movies.
Really? Okay. Wow, that's a strong statement.
Here's what I'm saying. Not even every team of the live action Avengers have had such a good rapport that you could tell they all had mutual respect, and they were doing their thing, and they each had their own personality. And I feel like the X-Men very often on live action are just a bunch of yahoos who are thrown together. Sometimes they don't even talk to each other.
Yes. Apparently you can get free girls in U City.
Thank you, 18 sexy XYZ. I did not know that. Free girls in U City.
U City. How do we get there? How do you get to U City?
Yeah, where's U City? It's probably in Brazil or some shit. Knowing the way this guy smells. Rebeck says free, huh? Charlotte says all the costumes are colorful and comics accurate.
Yes, comics accurate. I know that made you very happy.
I'm a comics accurate Nazi, as we know.
Put that damn tiara on. You put it on. You wear it.
Where's the tiara? Damn it! Drives me nuts. But they all did wonderful. This one.
Amazing, and I really enjoyed this movie. Let's talk about this. Right, I'm really interested in chat and your perspective, of course, Mantis. Was Black Adam for the fans?
Absolutely. 1,000%.
So that's been the narrative, right? I think if you look, this is not new. You go look at the Rotten Tomatoes and you just see the chasm between what it was rated by the critics and then what the fans are giving it. Last time I checked, it was up to 2,000 fan reviews. Pretty high. I went through some of the comments to make sure it wasn't just bots and misspelled words like "love your work, great, keep doing you."
Right.
Free girls in U City. I really think that people walked in here and it truly was an experience. We're like, oh yeah, I forgot I can go to a superhero movie and have a good time. Not to say that you can't have a good time in the MCU, right? I just think that, this is pure fun versus something else. Your thoughts? Oh boy.
So here's what I'm saying. I think that sometimes there is an argument about what's a real movie or what's really for the fans and what isn't. There's almost all this ownership and gatekeeping going on. I think all of it is in some fans in some way. But like, I don't want to disvalidate movies that aren't like this, because there's multiple ways to make a good superhero movie. Some of them are cerebral and make you think, I just felt like they were attempting to make me think too often recently, and I just want to have a good time. And so I hate being a gatekeeper is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to avoid being a gatekeeper. But this is for the fans, and haters can go to hell, basically.
Okay, well, say it with your chest, man. I've been watching a few, only Miss Randolph, much due respect. Please don't have me canceled or shadow banned. But I feel as if if you're a public figure on YouTube and you put things out publicly, you should be okay with them being publicly critiqued or refuted. It has nothing to do with your personal character or your personal brand over it in your channel. I categorically disagreed with the fact that this movie had to meet the expectation of critics, and it has reminded me of how much power critics have over the studios themselves, right? Unless this movie made 150 million this weekend, it was dead upon arrival, right? Once the critics bombed it and said it was shit, like, I'm sure DC was already like, okay, we let this guy have too much power, not looking at the people who actually pay for these things, the fans, man. Like, if the fans are enjoying it, if the fans are telling you this is what they want and they want more of this or similar, build off of this and go forward, that's the direction I'm leaning in. I gave these people free tickets. These people are paying for tickets. Why do I care what these people think more than these people?
It goes into more and more elitism, like every day, and all organizations and subgroups and fanships and jobs do this. You start cleaning the hands of other people who are in your industry,
right?
And so there is this kind of thing. They're like, I used to be a critic, so I know what it's like to be a critic. These poor critics, they get shit on. We got to care about them, and and basically it's corrupt. It's all corruption, basically, is the concept.
Right.
And, they want to create they want to be gatekeepers too. They want to tell people who have not a lot of fans on YouTube that you're not allowed to be a critic. You're not a real critic.
Right.
There's a real critic and there were fake critics. Fuck that, man. Fuck that. I can't stand it, because you're right. It goes against the real purpose is to sell tickets.
Right.
And here's what I'm saying. If Black Adam gets its China release date, I think it's going to, cross your fingers, it will make $1 billion. And that's all I care. And a lot of people will be like, well, domestic box office is what matters. No, money is what matters.
It's true.
And DC should just look for making money. That's period. We don't need to impress these critics, man.
No, yeah, you make a valid point. And by the way, the projections were seen as really low for this weekend, and it actually surpassed then those lower projections. So it was only projected to do 62 million or something like that. It did 65, slight victory there.
7.
67?
Oh, yeah, it did 67. Yeah,
it did 67.
So which is good. Good. So it only slightly exceeded expectations. It wasn't gangbusters.
Right.
But they do have to realize that DC in general is a damaged product.
Has not drawn. Yeah.
And I feel they knew that they were like, if they were expecting 140 million, I don't think they were, then they're fools. But yeah, they can't expect to have Marvel premieres just because lately, in the last couple of years, they've really damaged the shit out of it. And it's because of infighting in the company.
Right.
I want to point something out about I've recently, and I know I'm always hard on her, so I guess this is just hypocritical. But recently, you named a certain YouTuber. I don't like to mention names.
Right.
That YouTuber you mentioned, I'm very angry at this person. And because the way they covered this, from the review to other analysis of it and all these things. It's all propaganda. It's all agenda-driven madness.
Right.
It's all delusional. And I'm so glad that this person trended on Twitter yesterday in a negative way. Everyone was talking trash.
So let's break that down. What is the agenda? Because I think sometimes that we can gloss over the fact we just keep using the word agenda. There's an agenda. What do you think? What is your estimation? What do you surmise this agenda to be?
Okay, so this person is a bandwagoner.
Okay.
Huge bandwagoner. And at the time when the Snyder Cut was going to come out, Zack Snyder hired certain YouTubers and content creators that were always like, felt like weren't mocking him. Like, Campy and them were like, there's no such thing as the Snyder Cut, blah, blah, blah. He didn't want those guys. He wanted people who hadn't talked about him. And so this YouTuber X is one of them. And he paid her to give him an interview and to talk nice things. And she would even go as far as to tweet things like, I heard a rumor that Zack Snyder's going to direct Wonder Woman 3. And that there's a chance Ben Affleck's going to come back. And all this ridiculous stuff. To be a fangirl for him.
Right,
he was
right.
As soon as it ended, she was off the clock. Didn't have to show loyalty anymore. Matt Reeves comes out with that monstrosity of a Batman movie.
Right.
And she's like, I like this. I don't like this. I don't like the Snyder Cut or Snyderverse. And she publicly would say, I want it to go away. I want it to go away. I want it to go away. So she started doing the opposite of fangirling. She then started saying, Henry Cavill's never coming back. Ben Affleck will never work with the company again. You guys are delusional. When people would try to say, I heard rumors he might come back, she would put up a huge, because she wants that to go away. So her disgusted, twisted view of Reeves' vision of DC, which is a twisted, perverted psychopath's view, to be reality. And so what it was is she believes that she's popular enough to bend the will of people. So she feels like if she says a movie that clearly did good, for instance, I'll give you an example. There was a Fast and the Furious movie, not 9, 8. 8 made $1.2 billion.
Right.
For some reason, she didn't like it. She said it was a box office disaster.
Really?
Yes. She literally is like Donald Trump, where she spins something that is clearly one way and tries to make it look like it's another. And so if you look at her unhinged rant about the certain promotions that happen at DC today video, it has nothing to do with reality. It is in another dimension. She needs to take her pills and go back to therapy.
Get back in quick.
Get back in, girl. Get back in.
Let's backtrack a little bit.
I said a lot. I'm sorry, guys. I just
no. It's good. It's all good. Stream of consciousness, man. You got to get it out your system. In regards to the Snyder Cut in the Reeves universe that this YouTuber wants, why do you think that person is pushing so hard? Because I heard a quote from her directly. She believes the way the DC wins the fight between Marvel, which at this point, let's just be clear, there is no fight.
There is no fight. It's an illusion. Comic movies are for everyone. You don't have to be one way or the other.
Yeah, there's competition between these two studios, but right now DC has lost that competition, and getting back in is going to take them years before they can be considered a real competitor. But she's quoted as saying that she believes the way they win is by going highbrow.
Delusional. And I'll tell you why. Highbrow never brings financial success. And I'll give you an example. The Batman.
Right.
I talk shit about it so much, but that is a highbrow movie. Compared to Seven, it's this crazy detective story trying to hunt down a serial killer in a dark Gotham. It's very intelligent movie. It did not make $1 billion, as she has said herself, is the criteria of being a true blockbuster.
Right.
In modern age, you need to make $1 billion. You're not a blockbuster. It made 707. It didn't even make as much as Thor 4.
Right.
A movie she talks smack about. Yet so that's not a success in any way.
Right.
Highbrow never wins. Middle of the road wins. That's why CBS is the top ranked network in America, because they make stupid shows for the average American. Because if you get too smart, people are going to be like, what? Hey, what do you say? I don't get it. just make good movies and stop trying to say it should be. Basically, it's so stupid to say that the entire comic book universe should either be smart or some other thing. It can. Here's what I'm saying: you can have a smart movie and you can have Black Adam. They can exist in the same universe.
Yeah, and that was the common denominator from the reviewers. They were like, "This is a movie that's 10 years removed," and I'm like, "But 10 years ago? Wait, what?" Hold on for a second. So let me, and I want to show Black Adam the same grace that I feel like people, wink, wink, are not showing. Like that they're not extending it that they would have extended maybe a Captain America, the first Avenger. It's a bad movie by all accounts. I don't even remember what it boxed, but it's not a good movie. It's not. I can't remember at one point, and I saw that in the theater, and I can't remember at one point sitting there going, "This is good."
Here's what I'm saying. It has. I didn't like it when it first came out. It grew on me, but only because of nostalgia.
Right. In comparison of the rest of the story that's going on,
you're like, oh wow, look at this first Captain America movie. But you're right. There weren't enough action sequences. There wasn't really a plot going on. Yeah. There's no arc.
No.
His character stays the same throughout it.
So. And then you have Thor: Dark World, right? Thor: Ragnarok.
Dreadful. Oh, and that's not Ragnarok, but I'd say Dark World is pretty bad.
Well, in retrospect, man, I've been rethinking my love of Ragnarok, which is still a great time. It's still a great movie, man. But there are problems in that movie, right? And there's problems comparatively to what we were being pitched, right? The way they framed the Hulk being in that movie versus what we actually got, which was them turning the Hulk into a whipping boy, continuing the story of the Hulk being a whipping boy.
Well, there's a bunch of weird things. Like, for instance, realize they never told us the story of how Hulk got to outer space. It's so weird.
Oh, I mean, they showed us.
Never bothered to do it. That's what bad filming.
It went up. The ship went up. I thought that was clear. Like, after Age of Ultron,
he went straight. It was flying straight. It was in the atmosphere. It's flying straight.
No. At some point, it went up though.
No, it didn't.
You got to believe the science. It went up. Believe the science.
Oh, I see what you're doing now. Matt says, "How do you feel about not having Shazam, and what's the future?" I don't think Black Adam always has to fight Shazam. I'm fine with them not necessarily. They should meet and talk certainly, but I don't know if they need to mix it up.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did a Shazam Superman Black Adam fight, which was one of the better DC
animated. Yeah, I like that.
Very good, very good.
That's just. Do you think they'll bring Sabak back? No way. He was just someone to fight. I don't need to see more Sabak. I don't think anyone. No. Ben Affleck has a fucked up back tattoo. Public, how do you know that?
He's got a phoenix on his back, rising phoenix.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Oh, more signs he's gonna be Batman.
Rising.
He's like, I was with the wrong Jennifer, and that's why I drank. But now I'm with the right one, and I am the Phoenix. I'm ready to be Batman again.
I'm sure that woman's lovely. I bet you she makes great apple cider and brings you nice sandwiches. I guarantee it.
Yeah, Matt. Oh, Matt. Yeah, poor innocent Matt. We love Matt. We love Mad Cat. But he says, you think Snyder paid her? I don't know. Yo, if I show you those videos and how hard she is fangirling her, I have had prostitutes who were more believably into me than her and Snyder.
Right.
She is laying on so thick, it is clear that she was paid to do that. It was OD, man.
He definitely gave her the inside scoop for sure, right? She had the inside
all this access, all these interviews, all these things. And she's like, "Yeah, he's the greatest. He's a genius." She never used to call him a genius, but out of nowhere, she thinks he's a genius.
Well, at one point, she literally said that the Snyder cut of Justice League was like. She compared it to film school and how
it was Batman v Superman. And she
no. This was the Snyder cut, and her comparison to the Joss Whedon Justice League, and she's like, "This is the superior movie." Point blank. That's what she said. It's still up there.
Now she hates it. Now she suddenly hates it.
I just want to shout out Enjoy and Sickness. Just guys, what's good?
Oh, that's my boy. That's Reese. His name's Reese. He wants to call.
Just got out of Black Adam. Let us know what you thought.
Oh, that's awesome! Aquaman 2 is the start of the takedown of Marvel. I love Aquaman, and I actually, you know what I'm saying? I definitely like this Aquaman. Would you agree? You like this Aquaman?
Yeah. I like rough, rugged Aquaman.
Oh yeah. Hello, Laney. Welcome in.
What up? So I don't know if it's the beginning of the takedown of Marvel, though. That's like
Marvel's taking itself down right now.
It's like John Jones. It's the only thing that can beat itself. But I think that you and your criticism of Marvel that shows your bias sometimes, man. Like you texted me something privately, you're like, this is the end of Marvel. I'm like, it's not the end of shit, man.
Well, what was it? What was it for? Do you remember what it was about?
It made me look through my text messages. I was like,
oh no, it's all right. Was it a long time ago or a short time ago?
Oh, like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And you're
no. Here's what I'm saying. I don't think it's the end of Marvel. I think they're gonna have a bad. They think they've had their bad patch. They haven't had their bad patch yet. I think their bad patch is starting.
Subjectively, here's where I'm going to disagree with you, man. I think that Marvel is a business, and like any business, they had a bad quarter, and they're like, all right, so now it's time to correct, so we don't have another bad quarter. And if that means delaying things, right, we're going to delay the shit out of them until we make it exactly right. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them delaying each one of these movies to make sure it's correct, because that's the only time you should delay something. You should delay it to make sure the product is good.
Basically, here's what I want. I wish I could get into like sneak into their thing and be like, and want to be like, who are the Avengers that you're going to put in the next movie? Who are these heroes we're supposed to look for? Because none of us can see them.
I see you. I don't know. None of us can see them. You're speaking.
Because here's what I'm saying. They're going to put Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. Whoever ends up being Black Panther, we're not even sure we're going to like the person. You know what I'm saying? All on a team, and it's hard to respect. It's hard to respect.
See,
Doctor Strange might be the only dude that we respect.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I think you forget the fact that you used to be an old school comic fan, and some of the shit you used to push on me, and I was like, I don't like this. This is not good. But you're like,
oh, wait, hold on. I read some weird ass comic books. Yes, I read weird ass comic books.
Again, I want to preface this by it's not just for us hardcores, right? It's for the families. And
I'm comparing it to the family. I'm comparing it to mainstreamers will not.
I don't think that families have as high criteria for this shit. It's like, what can I take my wife and my kids to, and they can have a good time. And during inflation time, I don't feel bad about spending damn near $80 for a day out in the movies.
However, a box office analysis, to truly hit $1 billion, you need your fan base to keep going multiple times.
You do, but there's a level that they're willing to accept. Like the Great Machine said in The Matrix, there's a level of survivability we're willing to accept.
Right, but I'm saying, honestly, be honest, I like the idea of Shuri Black Panther.
Right.
But what if it is possible she could suck?
No, obviously. But here's the thing you're not understanding. You people, you hardcores.
Light skins.
Yeah, you good hot sauce getting motherfuckers. You've taken for granted the fact
we're the hot sauce people.
You think your voice matters more than it should. I agree that your voice matters in a sense. Our voice matters in the sense that we've made it clear that we don't like the direction it's going in. That's it. Now, whatever they do after course correcting, cool. That's it, man. But let's not be the people we're angry at most of the time. I don't have an agenda other than I want it to be good. That's my agenda.
Of course. Public says, would you have done it if Zach paid you? I would have. I would have metaphorically sucked his dick on camera.
Not even metaphorically.
I was like, this guy's a genius. Oh, yeah. Like it would have been gross. You would have been grossed out. I'm saying she was like a hooker trying to earn her pay. I love it. I agree with Mantis' assessments on the movie. It didn't reinvent the wheel, but I really liked it overall. Yeah, thank you.
So let's get into the news.
Marvelous shambles right now, says Matt. Hey Matt, I'm well. Mantis is right. Who are the Avengers? Schoolgirls and soy boys. This was the take on gang. Thank you.
Wait, which one's the soy boy? Because
Ant-Man's a soy boy.
Wait, hold on. Because you definitely can't say that about Shang-Chi because, that'd be problematic.
Is that racist to call? Okay, so I'm just saying. Why don't we make the team that we have? So who's
the team that you want? Because are you stuck in yesteryear? That's the thing, right? Are you stuck in yesteryear? Is it the team from the past that you're longing for? Because you had your complaints about the original Avengers team. I'm always trying to identify, maybe it's my clinical background. I'm actually trying to identify what the issue is.
However, I would always show up if Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor were there. If the three of them are there, they're the big three, then that's the Avengers. Boom.
But that part of the story is over. So what is it that you really
now
want?
We've got the leftovers, the pathetic leftovers.
What is it that you really want? What is it headcanon? What's the issue here?
It's not headcanon. They have yet to present, other than Doctor Strange, a hero that I can really get behind. Before Thor was on the thing, but after seeing Love and Thunder.
But I said this when Ragnarok came out. I was like, it's interesting they took such a important story arc in the Thor lore and made it into a comedy. The Ragnarok in the comics is not what played out.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's nothing like real.
I knew that was the end, but I never had that much vested interest in Thor. It's like, okay, so 2 movies sucked. This one was funny. So now I'm supposed to believe that he's a part of the Trinity, only in the sense that these are the big 3 that they made the movies about, but his property was weak from the gate. So it didn't surprise me that 4 was weak. I didn't jump on that.
He was great. He was great in ensemble pieces. I would say in Avengers movies, Thor is great.
All right, I'll tell you when Thor was great. Right, Thor was good in the last 20 minutes of the original Avengers.
That's the last 20 minutes. not the rest of it.
No, everything else was weak sauce like the rest of his movies. He was great in the last 20 minutes. But let's get to another realist like myself, James Gunn, taking over with his partner, not in life. But what's
Saffron Boy. What was his first name?
I don't know, but I'm sure that by your standards of a soy boy, they both meet those standards. But now they're heading up.
Whoa, hold on. But I'm saying in terms of writing and directing, James Gunn makes stories that are not soy.
Listen,
that's full-fledged steak right there.
This James Gunn most certainly goes to Hollywood Boulevard, Starbucks, the nice one.
No, he does, but I'm saying he writes stories about grizzled, hardcore motherfuckers.
He walks up to the counter and he's like, "No real milk for me, please. Either almond or soy."
And then he flips out if there's no almond. Absolutely. I agree with you on that, but I'm saying he writes some great stories about tough guys, so I love that.
Let's see, what does he wrote about tough guys?
I'm saying
Suicide Squad 2.
Suicide Squad 2 was filled with like badasses.
With badasses, Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Standard of masculinity, Drax the Destroyer.
Got Drax. That's a man's man right there, right?
yeah. I see where you're going with this. Okay,
Matt was like, Thor 1 was awesome.
No one believes that.
I don't think it was horrible. I think it was. Here's what it is. Most of Phase 1 was very bland. Like I think Iron Man was very good, and I think the rest of them were just kind of bland. But they still were able. Once they teamed up for the Avengers, we were like, "Oh, it's on."
But that just proves my point. It's something that I've been saying, right? And this is definitely a subjective point. Marvel was willing to have a couple of movies to make one grand movie that basically launched everything else. I know everyone likes to look at Iron Man as the springboard for the MCU, but in actuality, the first Avengers is what tied everything together, and that's what made people stick around for anything else that was possible. But
that was what made it all together.
Yeah, fuck Marvel for a second. So James Gunn and the other guy taking over DC Studios proper. Some narratives being presented there. You're a narrative guy. You got your Geeks and Gamer hat on. You're like the one.
Okay, so once again, me bitching about YouTuber X. YouTuber X started a rumor that The Rock was aiming for the role of being the CEO or the president of of DC, which they just today renamed it DC Studios. Obviously not very original, but whatever. It's showing that they're going in a direction, regardless of whether that's a good direction or not. And so they were the first one to report that. But here's what I'm saying. I want you to think about it this way.
I'm thinking about it. I'm closing my eyes.
How's he going to run a studio like that when he just started a franchise and he has to star in multiple movies as Black Adam? He's not going to have time for that. He does produce, but he's mainly an in front of the camera guy.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment because I don't think he ever vocalized or articulated. Maybe he was like, okay, if this is a job they give me, then I'll take it on. Because he's, in actuality, when you're talking about a man's man, you're looking at a guy like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Not some weirdo.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, not some weirdo with a beard on the internet.
Is that me or James Gunn? Who are you
not the review. Like, we're thinking of an alpha. It's a guy like that, right? That's
he's a hands-on guy and he's a team player. I feel you. He would take the job, but I don't think he was aiming for it. And however, this narrative was told that he was.
Yeah. This was also presented by the Hollywood Reporter and other mainstream trades. And I hate using the term mainstream trades like I'm some type of Tucker Carlson person, but I don't think it's anything I ever heard him articulate. What I did see him do was he took ownership of the property he was involved with, right? The 15-year passion project, and he was very hands-on with that. I think we all introduced the narrative like, what if The Rock was to take over?
Right, it's speculative. It's speculative. Yeah. We're like, wouldn't that be dope? The Rock, man. It's motherfucker. Yeah, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. However, this person, this YouTuber, is now pitching this. Oh, and by the way, Matt says, I like that James Gunn decision. I like everything he's done. Same. I like everything.
I'm with it.
Reese says, no doubt, Laney. I didn't watch Mantis' spoiler part of the review, so I had no clue about Cavill. Oh, wasn't that a great surprise?
That was a great scene.
Yeah. But like honestly, I don't think he could. I don't think it's realistic that he could run it. I don't think that was actually up for grabs. I think people were wildly speculating because they didn't see James Gunn coming out of the rear view mirror. He's like a surprise candidate. He's like, boom, gotcha, bitch.
Well, no, this is something that this is something that was floated a couple of years ago. This was something
it hadn't been talked about since, but you're right. Back in the day, they're like, is he going to take over? Yeah. And then another thing, a rumor was that he was going to direct Superman.
Right.
And so everyone's like, he's going to direct. So they know DC liked him. They knew DC liked him.
Right.
So, but now now this narrative is being pitched to try to create like this fake drama that they're like, The Rock, I'm sorry, I keep calling The Rock. I don't think he likes that. Dwayne Johnson is angry at James Gunn for taking the job, and I don't think that's the case at all.
This is the same shit that I disliked strongly about high school and why I punched a few people in the mouth over stuff like this. You say something, you got to back it up. If The Rock hasn't spoken on it, and if James Gunn hasn't spoken on it, then this is a dead story. But I think James Gunn taking over with his partner, whose name we have not mentioned yet, because neither one of us are going to look it up. Taking over the DC property.
Oh, Danny Garcia. I know.
No, James Gunn.
Oh, Saffron.
Yeah. I think it's a good move because it's finally going to bring something that the DC has needed, Warner Brothers has needed for their properties, a guided vision, right? And let's all stay right-sized about this. It's going to take, I think, at least 10 years, maybe 5, to get them all in a direction where it's like, hey, how does everything line up? How does everything connect? Because as much as you may disagree with the sentiment that people don't want a connected universe, people do want things to connect because it's a proven format that works, right? There are stakes. It's the one thing I hated about the X-Men movies. They were isolated. There were stories they tried to roll out and they couldn't do it because they didn't have all the properties. Same thing with Spider-Man. And I was just like, this is a waste of my time.
That's why I don't like this fractured universe that Walter Hamada had for the DCE. He was like, enough of the DCU. We'll just make one-offs. Nobody likes one-offs. And actually, YouTuber X said it nicely. She pointed out that Werewolf by Night didn't do well because it was a one-off. And people don't want to waste their time with a one-off. And I agree with her on that. We want it to connect it.
No, 100%.
By the way, his name is Peter Saffron, and I will tell you this about him. If anyone's here's what it is. He's an OG in terms of producing. He started out as a manager for talent. He discovered various very famous people, and then he moved on to producing. He's been producing at Warner Brothers for years, and basically, he's like the business version. Like basically, what's good about both of them. Peter Saffron knows the business well. He knows where the bodies are buried. Meanwhile, we've got Gunn, who's the creative master. He's the creative shaman.
Yeah.
Put them together, you got a well-oiled machine.
And what you also have is someone that isn't going to get burnt out because they are the sole person responsible. Even though there is a VP that's underneath Kevin Feige, you don't have one person who's going to get burnt out trying to keep an eye on everything, right? Mm-hmm. So right now in this fundamental pivotal stage, I think this is great. I think it's great. There's going to be direction. all James Gunn has to do is realize that not everything has to be Suicide Squad.
Well, I think he's capable of that. I think he's very capable of that.
We'll see. Right? We'll see, because Brightburn is definitely a different movie than Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love that movie.
Yes, I haven't seen it. I heard it was great.
Yeah, it's horror, the horror rendition of Superman.
Yeah.
Matt says no one believed The Rock was going to run this DC Studios. I didn't. I thought it sounded like a fantasy. Actually, I will say that.
I said it because I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if that's who they tap in? Like, wouldn't it be insane if he's the guy? But so this news broke. We're getting back to your narrative stories, which I agree. I want to go out there and say that there is a narrative being pushed here. I do believe that the trades and a lot of reviewers who are plugged in to the establishment don't want to see a type of change. Now, it's funny because that YouTuber, whose name I don't have a problem saying because it's not beef, right? You're a public figure. Grace, at one point, commented on the potential of James Gunn taking over.
I'm scared. She's coming after me. I got to
go. I fear feminist as much as I fear bad Chinese food. It's just, it happens and then it's over. I think this is a good move in the right direction. Now, let's talk about what we're hoping to see, right? Suicide Squad 2, that was a hit. I actually would put a kibosh on the Matt Reeves Batman.
I would too, and that.
I would walk into the studio, whip my dick out, and put it on the table and say, nobody wants a sequel to this movie, even if they think they do. There's no way you want to see 3 more hours of that nonsense.
Honestly, I would do everything in my power to get Mr. Rising from the Phoenix, Ben Affleck back, and have him do the Batman movie he was supposed to do.
Yes.
Prequel movie explaining what happened to the Robin who died in that universe.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be amazing. At least, even if he doesn't get a trilogy, just do one movie, bro. We just need this one movie.
And then we start dealing with the Snyderverse cult. It's not the Snyderverse. It's the DC universe. You want the story to continue? I don't know what you think that Snyder brings to the table other than, his Michael Bay approach to explosions. Okay. But it's time to move on.
So Snyder, here's my problem with these guys. And
I like Snyder. He's a nice guy.
I thought I was a Snyder person. I am a Snyder person. I love him. I can't wait for Rebel Moon, which is his new movie for Netflix. It's sci-fi movie. But like what I'm saying is, he wrote and directed 3, technically 4,
right,
movies, because Justice League was really two movies rolled into one, because that was supposed to be Justice League Part 1 and Part 2.
Right,
and that's why it's 4 hours. But technically he did Man of Steel, he did Batman v Superman, he did Justice League. That's enough already. And he produced Aquaman and Wonder Woman 1. That's enough, man. You've done your thing. I understand people are mad that he doesn't work there anymore, but maybe it's time to pass the torch to other people, and that's what I'm into.
Yeah. No.
It's got a new director in there.
I think it's reasonable, man. But based on what I've seen from his creative choices, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, we'll see what happens with 3. I don't know his level of involvement with the holiday special. I don't know if he's involved at all. In Suicide Squad, I think, we can go in some great creative choices. And what was it? Nerd Theory said that we'll definitely get a Crisis. He's saying it from his estimation. And I think Crisis would have been the way to go as opposed to the watered down Flashpoint we're getting.
They need to. I think personally, I think they should stay away from Crisis. You know why?
Why is that?
Marvel is going so hard on interdimensional stuff. Mm-hmm. I think I don't want them to be copiers of Marvel.
So I knew you were going to say that, right? And I just want to point you to the fact that Crisis has always been different than Secret Wars or any multiverse shenanigans in Marvel. In fact, DC kicked it off first in my estimation.
I agree with you. They did, but I think the average viewer, the normie, is not gonna understand that. They're not going to see the classic nature of this.
See, there you go.
And they're just going to say, "Look at them copying Marvel."
You're not understanding the wants of the normies. They want to go out on Friday and Saturday and have a good time.
So I would say they should just avoid multi, because they got a lot of other stories to tell.
It's too late. Their toe is dipped in it. They're making Flashpoint. It's too late.
No, but David Zaslav has changed it so it's not changing the dimension. He wants everything to be normal at the end of Flashpoint.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that they've already dipped their toe into the multiverse. When there's one Flash standing over here and another Flash standing over here, and they both look alike, and they went hardcore multiverse.
Yeah, right. No, I feel you. That is hardcore. However, I want it to be a one-off, so we don't have to remember that movie. Because remember, remembering that movie will require us to remember Ezra Miller in it.
Listen, if they didn't want you to remember Ezra Miller, they would have kiboshed this too. Really, there's something about this movie that they were okay with. They're like, well, it's not Batgirl. You know what I'm saying?
It's supposedly screened well. Supposedly people love it. But I've heard that before. I've heard that before. They actually said that about Batman v Superman. I remember they were like, they said after it aired that the executives who watched it stood up and did a standing ovation.
Well, a bunch of
they wouldn't stop until Snyder left the building. And like, look how that turned out.
I was watching the extended cut of that today, and I was like, this really is a good movie. In fact, I was going to do a whole thing about revisiting Superman and Batman versus Superman. I'm like, was it really that bad?
I'm such a psychopath that during COVID, I rewatched the extended cut of Batman v Superman like multiple times, and I made all these notes. And I know an edit. I'd switch scenes around. I'd cut out certain stories and characters, but I know an edit that would make it better and shorter.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, no, it's too elaborate. I'd have to I'd be like, I'd put scene 17A at the beginning.
Okay.
And like, for instance, there's certain Batman stuff. This both on both character side. I'd eliminate stuff like that. I'd eliminate the whole pissing in the tea thing. There's a bunch of weird shit I'd take out. It's a weird movie. You admit it's a weird movie.
The one thing I definitely would have changed slightly, I think maybe it would have been a drastic change, is I would have had Lex Luthor continue to be the eccentric, Silicon Valley billionaire. But then when he walked away from the Congress people or the senators, I would have had him turn to classic Lex. And I would have had him had a monologue with his stooge about why he behaves this way in public. And it would have been a way for him to throw a red herring. That would have made more sense.
So I believe, once again, a plot that was never allowed to be followed because of DC, all this politics. I believe that the Lex Luthor that we have in those movies is a clone of his father, and he doesn't realize it.
Okay. You think he's that redheaded fellow that was his son in the comics?
Yes. I think he's the redheaded dude, and the real one has yet to show himself. And I actually do. I think there's actually hints to that.
You know what? I think this is some of your Smallville bias coming out. Your love affair with that show.
Yeah, the redhead fella is not. For starters, did not originate in Smallville. It's from the comics.
I know he didn't originate in Smallville. That's not the claim I'm making. I'm saying specifically, this is some of your Smallville bias coming out in regards to how you view Lex Luthor. You guys had an unhealthy attachment to that show. I always found it strange.
At the time, it was the only superhero show we could watch. I was still waiting for something to happen. I was like, any minute we're going to see him put on tights and kick ass. Reese says, I don't know. I don't think I need them to decide if I want to remember Ezra. I wish I didn't want to watch the movie so I could go ahead and forget it. I agree with you. I hate that I'm going to see the movie, but I am going to see the movie.
I hate that I do evil, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I hate that I kill hobos every third night of the week. But I do. It's just calling to me. The moon calls to me. We're all going to see it, but I just want DC to know I'm voting for Henry Cavill in the DCEU, not for Ezra Miller.
So James Gunn taking over. More stuff breaking. It's been a big week for DC, right? It's just been up and down. Is Black Adam good? Is it for the fans? Now James Gunn, all this
stuff. Everybody, it's amazing. It's the most amazing movie ever.
And then Henry Cavill came out and tweeted, "I'm back." In the immortal words of Michael Jordan, he said, "I'm back." And, Grace Randolph said this is something that isn't going to happen. Now, we all know this is going to be for cameo spots in the beginning. Monetarily, this is what this is about. But Grace Randolph,
funny when you said cameo spots, I thought of, the app Cameo?
No. What is it?
Where washed up celebrities can be like, you pay me and I'll have a video saying anything you want. And it's called Cameo. Oh, wow. When he said this is for Cameo, I'm like, that's how bad it is for Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill's living his best life, man. The Witcher did exceedingly well. He's living the dream.
Yeah, I love him. He's doing a great job. Good to have him back, though. The fact that he could, however, the fact that he says, "I'm coming back," Warner Brothers retweets it, right?
Right.
And then Grace makes a video saying it's all a lie. He's just trying to advertise Black Adam. It's not going to happen. Earlier in the year, she literally said the movies that are on the dockets right now for DC will be the last DCEU movies. That's what she claimed.
Right.
Clearly, like, so she wants to continue this narrative that she's right. I told you, this is Donald Trump all over again. That she's right, and that even though it's like reality is proving her to be wrong, she's like, no, I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, any day now, Pedro Pascal is going to walk off the set of The Mandalorian.
Any day you'll find out the truth. That he's a psychopath who flipped out on them and stormed out. Yeah, right. And then I love how there's backroom images behind the scenes, and he's like laughing with them, and he's like hanging out with them in his Mandalorian costume. It's like, oh god.
Yeah. So Henry Cavill announced it. She was trending for the wrong reasons. Henry Cavill announced it. We can get into some Marvel back and forth if you want to, because when Henry Cavill announced that, Marvel also announced something at the exact same time. They dropped a trailer for something, Which
wasn't supposed to come out for another week.
Right.
Ant-Man. Yeah, they did the Ant-Man, and then today they dropped the holiday special because they really are trying to stop. And I admit Marvel does do this, and this is just business, smart business. Trying to change the topic away from Black Adam and its 90% audience score.
Right. Now that is how you defeat Marvel. If you want to go with that narrative, when's the last time you motherfuckers had 90% score?
Oh, exactly. Oh, absolutely. I will say this is my favorite superhero movie in a long time.
Really?
Maybe not a long time.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
Originally, I had put like, for instance, I was like, Spider-Man's better than this, and I started thinking about it, and I actually do like this better than Spider-Man.
Really? You like this better than Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah, and I had to think about it because there are parts of No Way Home that bore me, that I could do without. You know what I'm saying? And this didn't actually have parts that I was like, I don't know. Maybe you'd have to see the back.
I get it. Like I said, man, I enjoyed Shang-Chi. I enjoyed Multiverse of Madness. But when we walked out of the theater for Black Adam, and I'll say it publicly, there were points when I was sitting during both those movies, even Spider-Man, I was like, I'm kind of bored right now. But I just had to keep myself in tune. I can't think that there was a moment where I was bored during Black Adam. There were moments when I was like, now that was cheesy as hell, but I like it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I had a good time all the way through. They definitely changed the topic, but I want to get into some of the Grace Randolph.
I've got more complaints. I got so many more complaints about that person.
Well, I don't want you to put yourself in danger. I'm not scared of her, but
Well, if you saw her the way she did her video today, it was sociopathic and insane.
I couldn't make it through it, and it's nothing against you, Grace. It's just like I have to watch your videos in segments because of my own implicit bias. I recognize that about myself. You say something I don't like, and I'm just like, all right, let me take a second, come back before I write something in the chat that's completely unwarranted. So continue.
So Pub says it's funny how you think Henry Cavill is a B-list celebrity. So I will say, if he brings the box office to his own next movie, he will be A again.
So you don't think The Witcher's success makes him A again? You're still making a distinction between streaming
because I am saying, like, here's the deal: you get paid significantly more for movies than you do streaming shows, and so I would say a lot of people are making it on streaming, if you feel me. And so basically, if he brings all the people to whatever his next movie is, then I will submit that I will be like, I admit I was wrong. He's an A.
Well, here's the real question: do you think The Witcher could have been a success without anyone else? With anyone else, it
could have. However, I love that he's it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't imagine anyone else playing. Here's what I'm saying. My Geralt is the dude with the. He had a goatee in the video games.
Yeah.
And so I was like, who's this fresh-faced little bitch? But it was Henry Cavill, who's not a little bitch. He's huge.
I don't think he had a goatee in the original game, though.
Oh, I guess I never played. I only played 3. I'm a bandwagoner. So I was like, maybe he's not rugged enough. Matt said that Pedro Pascal story, I do not believe it. There's no evidence. There's no evidence, and like I said, she's trying to change the narrative when the season finale ended and she claimed that he walked off the set halfway, never finished his episodes, and the episodes are finished, and there's even episodes where he can take his helmet off, and she claimed he was about taking the helmet off, and she literally said, see, I'm right, it's obvious they finished the episodes with a stunt double. I'm like, you are making things up. Like, it is totally insane. I don't know. I think I'm with Mantis on this. I think I like Black Adam more than Spider-Man.
That's a tall pill. Yeah.
Why are you scared of Grace? If you see the way she was like maliciously evil in today's video, I think she's capable of poisoning me or my cats. No, I live with other people. I'm fine with them poisoning them. But me and my cats is what I can't. I can't permit.
Oh man, he's definitely an A-list. What the fuck? It says Pubs. If my mom knows the actor, then it's an
A-list. Okay. Or your mom just, he's very handsome. Let me put it like that. The fact that I know who he is, that is true, Pubs. You don't know anybody. Pubs, I'm like, Pubs, you know George Washington? And you look at me and I'm like, Pubs, George Washington? And they're like, huh? Like, is he the guy who washed my car? I'm like, no, George Washington. So if Pubs knows who Henry Cavill is, that is crazy.
So I mean, but looking at it, right? Some of the things that Grace espouses and some of the opinions that she holds, it makes me think about the premiere, not the premiere of her channel, but one of her earlier promos for her show, which was a scripted promo of her standing with her little blue jacket on with the white
with the nerd guy,
and then the classic critic, and the contrast there was that she is a critic, a reviewer for the people. She believes that these things are made for the people, and the classic critic was just like, yeah, Grey Poupon on everything.
Right, they're comparing two things, and his critique was too highbrow and absurd, and hers was down to earth and amongst the people.
Right.
He was a normal person, and he is some sort of elitist.
Right. And so, with that backdrop, with that framing, tell me more about the tweet. That's what I'm doing. You're a Twitter guy. I'm just going to mute.
Yeah, I'm going to Twitter guy. So I'm going to tell you. So here's another motivation that she has against why her insane rant recently was against GUNN, and here's why. When the Peacemaker came out, she initially said that it was a critical and financial failure.
Oh yeah,
and that wasn't true at all. That was actually people were loving on it, and so somebody said Grace Randolph just said that. Is that possible? And then Normie had said that, just a normal dude, and out of the mist, swooping down like a dragon out of Game of Thrones, James Gunn tweets this hysterical thing to the kid. He says, the earth will rotate around the sun. It will revolve around the sun. Mothers will love their children, and Grace Randolph will spit bullshit. Which, of course, created a army of people mocking her. Thing like, look at what happens when you fuck with the bull, you get the horns, and everyone's mocking her like, James Gunn put her in her place. And you know that gif where they're all the schoolyard kids are like, oh
yeah.
Went on for days. People won't let her stop living up one thinking about that. And now he's in charge.
Oh, okay. I get you.
So what do we get in a video tonight? She finally puts out her video. I'm waiting to see it. I'm like, I wonder what her take is. She shits on his ability to make a movie. She says it's more of the same. He's garbage. Nothing's going to be good. She says, how could Gal Gadot be about this? Because he's basically a sexist. How is he a sexist?
What?
She's making all these narrations that aren't even real.
Right.
Because she has an agenda.
Sexist.
Is that a problem with my man Gunn?
Wait, Josh Whedon was the sexist. He's the one that's like, Cordelia will stay pregnant.
She said he's basically like Josh Whedon. How is it? In what way is he like Josh Whedon? He's nothing like Josh Whedon. As a matter of fact, he does great plots with women.
Interesting. Okay.
She has an agenda to destroy James Gunn, to destroy the DCEU, and to install Matt Reeves in some sort of position where he gets to take a shit on every DC character.
Right.
Did you see his version of the Joker?
Yeah.
Do you want him really messing with our stuff?
The only way I would want to see more of what Matt Reeves has in store for us is if they tied it into something that I don't think a lot of people here enjoy. I'm not sure. Let me not say that. I enjoyed Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. I enjoyed that story. If they tied that into that, then I would have been okay with a sequel for the movie. But his weirdo sitting next to the Riddler and Arkham Joker, no, I'm not. No.
Yo, they originally you realized that the Batman was supposed to take place in the 90s, and that was supposed to be a young Ben Affleck. And they later on decided, you know what? Why don't we make this its own thing? Right. I think it would be better if it was the young Ben Affleck, you know?
Yeah, she's had some bad takes, man. I wanted to ask you, has anyone ever publicly, or has she publicly ever addressed James Gunn responding to her tweet?
She has not, but however, it is clear the motivation because she's speaking from a delusional state or someone who has a vendetta. You're in her current thing.
Okay.
You know, and I believe that she's totally fueled by a vendetta.
Right.
And she's evil and she worships the devil. At night, the devil comes out and he puts out his teat and she drinks blood out of it every night.
Coagulated blood.
Can't answer that one about Cavill. I couldn't stand The Witcher until number 3, so I guess I'm not on that bandwagon. I agree that I think not every show is good from the start. To be honest, the original Game of Thrones I didn't like until episode 5.
No, I think that Enjoy is talking about the Witcher 3 game. A lot of people share that sentiment. The first Witcher game was, it's groundbreaking. Second one, okay, but Witcher 3 is really the game that people, and also what they really like. Yeah, and it's the DLC. So they released DLC for that game that was basically another game. It wasn't like 2 gigs. It was like another 30 gigs. Not really, but it was a great DLC. Couple of DLCs, full games on that one. So I could dig that. All right. Are you done?
Wait,
go ahead.
Matt says, Twitter, ugh. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. I love it. Pubs says she flew a little too close to the sun. I agree with that. She did. Yeah. She thought she could mess with like real celebrities and important people, and some of them are Twitter obsessed too, and they're just gonna get you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he wins because he directs. He's the head of DC, and she's a nobody on YouTube.
Well, that's not the first person that got out. I remember the director of Birds of Prey, fucking
right, and that goes back to another one of her things, a false narrative that she claimed there was a pedophilic plot line originally in it. And the actual director, Catherine Yan, is it Yan? I might be mispronouncing it. Said, it's a Chinese name. She said, she's like, I didn't have any pedophilic storyline. What are you talking about? And she's like, my sources said, and she's like, that's an absolute lie. Why, and then Grace started arguing with the actual director on Twitter. And I'm just like, yo.
So
it drives me nuts.
I have the same feelings as you do, and my feelings extend to other reviewers on YouTube. Sometimes the guys over at Geeks and Gamers, all those folks, man. It's like at one point, why I started tuning into Geeks and Gamers, man? I really started listening because I was like, here's something counter to the popular narrative. This seems like these guys are bringing some truth. And I really did feel for the head of Geeks and Gamer when Zack Snyder was like, right at the premiere of a Snyder cut of Justice League, he's like, we don't associate ourselves with racists or hate mongers. And I'm like, I'm not sure there are any of those things. That's fucked up to say that out loud. But when you get so deep into commentary, public commentary, social commentary, you don't realize that you become the villain that you claim to be fighting against. And I think that Grace sometimes finds herself on the wrong side of it. When you got to do like comic books online or whatever that review channel is, great guy. I think he's Canadian. He's got a weird accent. But when you have a guy who never wades in this type of drama saying, hey, Grace got this one wrong, in regards to the Pedro thing. It's like, it's clear that it's wrong, right? It's not even like they fixed it mid-season. Like, it's wrong.
It's just wrong.
You just backtrack and say, hey, I got this one wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Yo, I will say this again. The great Saint John Campia, that beautiful little white man from Canada, she attacked that man for no reason. And I was just like, okay, I'm off this bandwagon. And
here's the thing. If I was Snyder, if I was Kathy Yan, if I was any of these people, these famous people, James Gunn, I would not address these people. Not directly. Right. Like, for instance, I would, if I was Kathy Yan, I'd be like, there's some rumor around that I originally wrote in a pedophilic event, like storyline that had to be edited out. That is not true in any way. I promise you that. I would never tweet at a YouTuber, just like Snyder should not have called Geeks and Gamer out by name.
Yeah.
That is totally insane, because you know what it is? Those people, the YouTubers, no matter how popular are, they have like million followers, whatever. They're not as popular or as influential as you. So by having an argument with them, you bring them to your level.
See, and so, okay, now I'm going to put myself in a dangerous spot. You asked me a question about DJ Academics once and my thoughts on DJ Academics. And that is my exact thoughts when hip hop artists engage him.
Right.
Why are you engaging? Yo, shout out to you, Academics. You are the model in which I follow in regards to hip hop commentary.
Being a hustler.
Exactly. Work hard, stay ready for your craft, be ready to stream anytime. The only person that should get at Grace, period, but has every reason to, is Jessica Chastain. If anyone was going to get on Twitter and friggin' call her out in public, it should be that woman. And she's just like, nah, I'm good.
Yo, real quick, I'm going to address that, but real quick, the DJ Academics thing, I had heard like an album or two of his, but like never really got into him and whatever.
Albums.
And no, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying mixes he's done.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, it wasn't until after we talked that I did look him up, and I was like, this guy is a hustler. And I didn't know that. And I admit, I spoke from, when I was defending him, I was speaking out of ignorance.
No, you weren't speaking out of anger. You were talking about the creative portion. And I get the point you were making. I believe that I agree with you. DJs are creatives, right? It takes a lot of creativity.
But he's definitely less creative than some of these other people. That's for
now, as a commentator, like, I agree with your statement where if I was a huge hip hop artist, like if I'm a Jay-Z, I'm not going to respond to to Academics. I'm just not going to do it. And if I'm James Gunn, I'm not going to respond to Grace Randolph, even though that was a classic roast, other than to say, hey, there's some
great line. That was great.
There's some rumors going around about this, and this. I just want to set the record straight. And I think that type of transparency resonates with fans, but what do I know? I'm the type of person that believes that vampires aren't having sex when the author says they can't have sex.
Oh, we're going to hit that up in a sec. What was the other thing we were talking about? What were you just talking about before?
Lasting on Grace or on the DCU. So, according to Mantis, hardcore DC fan, what projects do you want to see greenlit from James Gunn? Day one. He makes an announcement. What do you want to hear?
Man of Steel 2.
Okay.
I'm hoping we see a Brainiac. I'm hoping maybe we might get a Supergirl, whatever. But I want to continue that Man of Steel story. Boom, Henry Cavill. You guys say he's an A-lister. Let's see him bring it.
Right.
Honestly, if they could convince him, I hope he's feeling better from being a drunk. Ben Affleck, if they could do a Batman, I would cream my pants if they did the Batman story.
Yuck.
I was gonna start this. I didn't want us to get banned, but I was gonna start this cast saying that I was so hard because of all the DC news coming out. I know that turns people off. They don't like hearing how hard their host is. But I'm rock hard right now.
Full tent.
I want them to do a Justice League 2, and I want it to feature heavily with the Green Lanterns. I want them to meet and join forces with a Green Lantern. That's what's missing in their whole situation. But they could have they could do all sorts of things. Yo, remember, James Gunn is very pro Ray Fisher. And so you know what happened on the Peacemaker set?
No, what happened?
He had Ray Fisher on the set. And remember in the finale when they see a silhouette of the Justice League, but they only show Ezra Miller's Flash and Jason Momoa's Aquaman. They don't show the other faces. Originally, he was gonna have Cyborg in it. Cyborg was originally Cyborg was the one who's supposed to talk to the Flash. Just for a quick second, be like, didn't make a joke, but the executives wouldn't let him do it.
Wait, did they actually show him? I can't remember. Did they show Momoa in Ezra's face?
Yeah,
at the end of Peacemaker?
Everyone's a silhouette, and then when something happens, they both look at each other and they make some joke, and that's it. It's for a quick second. Originally, it was supposed to be Ray Fisher's Cyborg and Ezra Miller, and they had him on set ready to go. They still paid him. They had him on set to do something, and the executives were like, "No, he's persona non grata. Don't have him." But he's pro Ray Fisher. Which means I love the man.
It's so weird that he's the one blacklisted, no pun intended, because of Josh Whedon.
Let's face it, we all know that phrase was meant to talk about black people. But yeah, it's crazy. All he did was tell people what happened to him. He reported inappropriate behavior, and somehow he doesn't have a career.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's another thing. Snyder is doing a sci-fi movie for Netflix called Rebel Moon, and Ray Fisher's in it. So thank God he's working. So.
Shout out to Zack Snyder. Okay, what else you got?
So I want to say, I'm all about the Wonder Woman 3. However, yes. I want her to bang Batman in it.
Yes. I
think we really need to see Batman. Batman and her bang, that would be great. But I'm just saying we need to get back to the base of who this is. A cyborg movie, I would love. I understand that might not really happen.
Yeah, no, I think so. I can't remember ever reading a cyborg one-off or standalone in DC if they ever existed that I was like, this was good. Okay. Are you ready to talk about vampires in the last 24 minutes of the show?
Let's really see. I just want to hit up the things. Real first, Pub says, what's Grace's agenda? Grace is notoriously, here's the thing. Grace is great with analysis, and she does movie math, and she analyzes the box office, and she's wonderful at that.
I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful at that. She does all these things. And however, one of the things, she's also a scooper, quote unquote. And so her whole thing is that she claims to know things that are not real. Like they're just not happening. But she claims her friends told her. So she ends up getting in trouble when she gets caught in her lies. And I think that's her agenda. Matt Reeves was shiz. Let that nonsense die. I absolutely agree. I want to see Jake Gyllenhaal as the Joker. Pubs, I would be all about that. Can we talk about the Joker, please? We can absolutely talk about the Joker. So they're making a Joker 2. It's a musical. I'm not kidding. That's confirmed. And it's Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn. And the movie apparently is from Harley Quinn's perspective. Where she is in love with the Joker. So that's either going to be the greatest movie ever or the worst. Right?
Are we talking about Harley Quinn being in love with the Joker?
Yeah, Margot. Not Margot. I'm sorry, Lady Gaga playing the Joker, playing Harley Quinn in Joker 2.
No.
It's going to be Joaquin Phoenix. It's going to be a musical. It's from her.
I don't want that.
I don't want any of this. Why are you doing this?
Didn't we learn our lesson from the Buffy musical episode? Did we not?
I want to see a Justice League dark movie. Oh, well, let's actually talk about that real quick. J.J. Abrams. He was hired exclusive. He got an exclusive deal. This was years ago, 2017, I think, to create DC properties. And he was doing the Black Superman movie. He was doing the Justice League Dark movie.
Right.
And none of them have been made. And so he got paid $500 million or some crazy shit. And for the last 5 or 6 years, he hasn't done a single thing.
Right. But apparently some reports, none of that stuff has been killed. It's still in development. Right. So, it took them 15 years to make Black Adam. Who knows? We might get Black Superman. I don't want it, but yeah.
I don't want it either. And here's what I'm saying. I like the actual in the comic books, the Black Superman.
Yes, it's a good story in the comics.
It's a great story. but I don't want them to rewrite Clark Kent into being black. That's just
doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Like
so
for the whitest man with the whitest name ever waking up one day and being Nigerian, right? This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And so basically, for those who don't know, there is a black Superman in the comic books, but he's from another dimension, and he is a different person than Kal-El. He's not Kal-El. You know what I'm saying? It's a different guy who got brought to the planet.
Yes,
and becomes the black Superman of his dimension.
Right.
And that's a great story. And when Superman beats him, that's a great story too. And he was in Multiversity and all that stuff. That's wonderful. But I agree. I agree with you that I think sometimes there are some race swaps that just go too far.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some stuff you can deal with. Some stuff like Hawkman being black, not a big deal in my mind. Not a big.
Yeah. Also, especially since he's the reincarnation of a Egyptian prince.
Real quick, shout out to that actor. I always forget the brother's name. Man, if they were going to recast T'Challa, I've thought this dude was dope since I saw him in the NWA movie, Straight Outta Compton. If they were going to recast T'Challa, he was in the running in my mind. I was like, he has the physical prowess and the acting ability to be T'Challa. Obviously, it's too late to take my boy that's playing Kang and make him T'Challa, but he also would have been a more comics accurate T'Challa if you look at them, if you look at the characters. And real quick, just want to give a real acknowledgement. We don't have to go deep into this if you don't want to. A couple of clips dropped for Wakanda Forever. First one I did not enjoy. Second one was with Okoye, and they were doing some battle. I thought that was dope. I don't know if you saw that one, the TV spot. And then we got the Ant-Man trailer before we get into vampires having sex. Quantum Mania. I'm just going to say it right now. I enjoyed the trailer. It's funny the adverse effect that the internet has, right? Some people are now worried, some being a minority group, very vocal on the internet, that Ant-Man will not be funny and it's going to be too serious.
Yes, and they're used to it being funny. And that's funny. That's the one franchise that should be funny. I will say the problem is it's been too funny and not. The villains haven't been serious enough, and so that's been kind of lame. And now this looks super dark.
Yes,
to the point where people think he's going to die. I don't think he's going to die.
I don't think he's going to die. I think he's going to make a bad decision.
I will say this. I can't stand Marvel doing this. I have a feeling that they're going to make Kang instead of the descendant of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. They're going to make him the descendant of Scott Lang, Ant-Man.
I had not considered that. Okay.
You know why? Because the trailer's showing all this like family connectivity, and the theme of family is in it. And so it would make more sense if the villain at the end of it is revealed to be like, well, I'm your descendant.
So the only reason I would push back on that is the original clip that got leaked when he said, I'm Ant-Man, I'm an Avenger. He's like, have I killed you yet?
Have I killed you before? Yeah.
I don't think it does. That doesn't jive with that. I can see that being a bad move Marvel makes. Here's what I'm worried about, right? I'm worried that we're still not seeing Kang the Conqueror, and he's going to beat whoever this guy is. And it's like, oh, that was Kang Conqueror Light, and now the real Conqueror is on his way. But it did seem ominous. Seemed like a great clip. I know in your review, you felt like there were some Guardians of the Galaxy aspects in there. And I was just like, man, he's way off base here. So I went back and watched the review. I went back and watched the trailer, and I was like, oh yeah, I could see the comparison there. There is.
Yeah, it has the same energy. I'm not saying they're ripping it off, but like, yeah, then when they walk in the cantina and there's weird aliens walking around, I'm like,
yeah, that part.
It's Guardians.
Yeah, you know what's strange to me though, or interesting in a good way. If Kang has been hiding out in the microverse and hiding out in the quantum verse, the quantum realm proper, as it were, why didn't he shoot down Thanos' ship? Right? If I'm a conqueror, you're a conqueror. We agree on some worldviews. But don't you think I'm like, I can't take the chance that this guy might get this right? Right?
Right. No, there's and he's supposed to stop time travelers. And Thanos and his crew were like a bunch of pirate time travelers. He should have immediately attacked them.
Yeah, he's also a wild card. You don't want a guy like Thanos looming in the background. But what'd you think of the trailer? We got your review, but any change ups on that since then?
I've heard a bunch of theories. This is so funny. We're gonna go a little long this night. Basically, here are the theories. One, The movie will be a retelling of The Wizard of Oz.
I don't want that.
I don't want that, but somebody pointed out, they're like, there's all these connections to The Wizard of Oz. The song that's playing in the thing is about The Wizard of Oz. And so whatever, maybe, I don't know. Other ones, my personal theory was that maybe he's the descendant of Ant-Man and not Reed Richards, which I wouldn't love. And then another one is the rings. Remember, there's a part where he's standing there and the rings are coming out.
Yes.
Saying the writing on it is the same writing on Shang-Chi's rings.
Okay.
And Shang-Chi's rings are from the Quantum Zone, maybe.
Yeah, I heard that, or the future, or like some weird place. So, what are your? Here are my thoughts on that. Right, they got to make the rings make sense. Here's what I think they need to avoid, because they have stated this publicly. They don't want to do another thing where it's like you have to acquire these things to be all powerful, right? But at the same time, why do you have these fucking rings in that movie, in Shang-Chi, and in Miss Marvel, you have that wristband? I'm hoping we don't get another Thanos quest light type of situation going on here.
To get the items, get all the magic items.
Get the power, get the respect. I'm hoping that Kang just stands on his, technological advancements to defeat wizards and shit like that. I don't like Kang. I'm not
really. Even seeing him in this trailer didn't make it.
No, I like
the costume they made for him. I think he looks.
I've never been a King guy in the comics. I can never get past the fact that I'm like, this dude is a fucking loser. Like,
he's not a loser. He conquers, man. He conquers.
He's conquered shit.
So basically, here's what I'm saying: the city that he lives in, or whatever, is called Chronopolis.
Right.
And it's supposed to be in the limbo dimension.
Yeah, I know.
However, I think the city that they're showing us in the trailer is in the quantum dimension. They're streamlining it all. Yeah. And in Chronopolis, they have portals to different dimensions that they've taken over. And I think that's what's going to happen here in this world. I think he's conquered all these different worlds and he has connections to them. I think it's interesting they're using the quantum, the quantum verse, which in the Marvel comics is called the microverse.
Yeah,
It's just like, I don't know, it's stupid.
I don't know why they couldn't say micro. You think we're gonna get any Fantastic Four shenanigans?
I'm hoping we see Mr. Fantastic. Here's what I am hoping that Kang remains Mr. Fantastic's descendant, and we get to see him. Yes,
it's the only way I would care about this character. But I do think, what's the actor's name playing Kang again? I'm so bad with names.
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. Let's just talk about Jonathan Majors being the villain in Creed 3, and also that intimidating ass scene at the end of this trailer, right? I believe that people have a reaction when they're in the presence of real bodily danger, right? When you're around someone that could honestly physically hurt you. And there's a moment when he was like, what's going to be Ant-Man? He wasn't screaming. He wasn't loud. But if Ant-Man, whatever the next answer could potentially be in that scene, he could probably strangle Scott Lang to death.
Yes, right there. He's so good at being intimidating. And I got to say, in Loki, I loved it, where it was their conversation was coming to the end. They were about to hit the precipice where he, came to a future he couldn't foresee. And
that was amazing.
And he just looks down and he goes, yeah, and if you think I'm bad, just wait until you meet some of my variants.
Right.
And he says it so calmly, but it's so scary. Right?
What is Loki's variant's name? I forget her name.
It's like, is it Mindy? Is it
is
Ellie?
it Grace?
Something Grace, right? It's definitely Grace.
I'm gonna see Ant-Man. My son loves this movie. It's one of the first things we ever bonded over in regards to the MCU. He really enjoys Ant-Man, Black Panther, the Avengers. Actually, he's been on some weird morbid kick where he just realizes how many Avengers died, and I've had to re-explain this is not real over and over. And then he's
like, "Oh, Iron Man's dead."
He's like, "What about Black Panther?" And I'm like, that one's real. That one's real, unfortunately. But I'm gonna go see it, man. I would not mind if this was a less jokey Ant-Man.
I want them to crank down the jokes. Ever since Thor 4, it got out of hand. It's like, here's what it is. It's like when you're running a class and you let the kids make a few jokes, and and then suddenly they're all just wild, and you're like, fuck, I should have been an ass from day one.
Okay, are you ready for the last?
I'm ready. I was born ready for this.
Interview with a Vampire, episode 5. Commentary on domestic violence and mental abuse. Claudia, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't watched it yet, has left, right? She leaves at one point after going through some of the things that she went through in the book, realizing that she will never grow old, right? Realizing that her body will be that of her pubescent.
There was a detail, I gotta say.
That was a rough detail.
The diary detail was fucking rough. I couldn't believe I heard what they said. And I said, I can't believe you
dare say it? Because I don't dare say it.
So essentially, her can I say this on YouTube?
So what she said in her
skin defenses down there grow back every time she bangs.
Yes, she's like, am I going to remain a virgin every time?
Essentially becomes a virgin. She has vaginal reconstruction surgery just by being a vampire, naturally being a vampire every night. Basically.
You know what's crazy? There's so much commentary within that small bit of dialogue. Who was she having coitus with? Right? So the boy she fell in love with was willing to do it because she had convinced him that she's older than she actually looks. But she said something else later on in the show. Who's going to want me? Young boys? Degenerates? And I was like, wow. It really took me back.
Here's what it is. She's desperate to explore her womanhood, so she is having sex with degenerates. The type of guy who would sleep with a 14-year-old girl.
It's rough.
You know what I'm saying? It was gross that was happening. I couldn't believe. Yeah, I could. Her victims for sure. Yeah, she's sleeping with them and then eating them. Right.
Right.
Feel that. She eats. Yeah. That was a gross detail.
Gross but impactful. Right.
So she leaves, right?
Yeah.
And I have a real problem with the whole Bruce thing.
Okay, go for it.
So she goes to college. She goes to college and she's not being a student, but she's pretending to be a student, going into the thing, studying in the library to find her prey. Kind of smart, as long as you don't stay too long.
Right.
You're going to find out the girl who doesn't really go to the school is the killer, right? But so she's killing people or whatever. And she's getting harassed by a dude at the, some white bread rich guy. And she gets stopped by a guy with a motorcycle, bad boy who, his name is Bruce the vampire. And so they go out, and when they were by the fire, it turns out to be abusive and weird, a creep.
Right.
He's physically abusive with her. And then the narrative stops and it cuts back to him, Louis and Daniel having their conversation. And he says, the rest of the pages are ripped out. The next 4 pages are ripped out. He goes, yeah, I'm not going to have her exploited. And he says, what happened? And he goes, you know what happened. You don't need to read it. And so obviously I take that to believe that Bruce accosted her. Right. And so this is where I'm starting to have a problem with the sex being added to the vampire thing. Because you've opened the door to this, and now you're having a beloved character like Claudia R-worded.
Yeah. So
I was not ready for that. And I was
the real issue you should have had with it, because I believe I need to go back and watch the episode. So, and it leans in heavily what happens later in the episode. In Anne Rice's lore, a fledgling or a younger vampire, it's extremely hard for them to overcome an older vampire, right? They can't do it. Claudia should be older than Bruce, right? Every way he described his own story seemed as if he was newer or younger than her.
Right, he's riding a motorcycle.
That scene was pretty rough because it didn't feel forced to me, but I would say this is why I said if you're going to do social commentary, this is the way to do it, because it just seemed to flow effortlessly that something horrible had happened to her. And I didn't take as much issue. I didn't take any issue with it. I was just like, she learned a valuable lesson that Lestat, and this is something great that they're doing that they didn't really do in the book, not the movie, but the book. Lestat in the show has made it clear that the old vampires in Europe are way more brutal.
They're brutal, like savages. Like old.
And that, if you think about that, if you insert that bit of context into the movie of Interview with a Vampire, doesn't it explain a little bit more why the vampires at the film in the auditorium were so brutal? right? Like, have you ever wondered why they were so brutal?
Wait. So I have always understood this. I've always understood this.
Oh shit, Lainey hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lainey. I'm sorry for anyone who hasn't seen it. Yeah, we got into our interview conversation. I'm fine with them being brutal because here's what I'm saying. The old world vampires, like they probably, or at least their leadership, remembers the Black Plague, the medieval times where they were like draw and quartering people, like crazy savage shit.
Right.
So they are probably savages just like the medieval world was, right? That makes total sense to me. That makes sense to me. I don't like that they added this sexual level to it.
So here's the thing about you said something in your review. Shout out to your channel. Nate, say it again. It's a very I love the
Kill Me Like One of Your French Girls.
Right. So you said something
that's my horror channel. If anyone's wondering, I have a YouTube channel. Kill Me Like One of Your French Girls. Please check me out. I'm reviewing interview as it goes on.
It's a much harder review than you're used to from the Mantis. It's a great stuff. So here's the thing you need to know about the vampires in the old world, right? If you're going from the book, they weren't brutal just to be brutal. It was, well, I guess they were. It was boredom, right? You know how in the movie they hint, in Interview with a Vampire, they hint at the attachment, and a quickening is the exact word that Armand uses when he's talking to Louis. They need someone to kind of attach them to the age. Because they're not attached to the age and they're so isolated, they really do become demons at a certain point. They become Satan.
They lose their humanity.
Slowly,
because they only live amongst themselves and they want to have no connection to the mortal world.
Right.
They're savages. They're total savages.
Another thing you brought up, it isn't Kindred, right? I know that you and I both enjoy Kindred and we enjoyed the Masquerade, but and again, I guess this is going to come up in a debate with Gray. Reading from Interview to the Queen of the Dam, they have covens, but there isn't a hierarchy in the way that there is in Kindred. Like there isn't a prince. There isn't a president. There isn't a high priestess. It's the strongest person in the room is the person that doesn't get, beat down.
You're right.
Essentially, watching this scene with Claudia and Bruce, it was rough. Only in the sense where I was like, she should be able to overpower him. But I get the message they were trying to deliver at the same time because it drives home that sense of family, right? She's their daughter. She left home. She left home against their best wishes, and now she's.
I feel you. Something bad should happen to her, and she should understand. It's the story like, don't run away.
Campaigning for bad things happening to people leaving.
No, but like the story is, it's like the world is a harsh place, and you didn't factor that in when you ran away. I dig it.
Right.
Here's the thing. Am I too much of a pussy right now, or am I too in love with Claudia? Because I think of Claudia from the books, and Claudia from the books is like my daughter.
Right.
And I cannot think of her.
Well, Claudia from the books is she's an alpha. She's not a Claudia from the books.
Idea that she gets assaulted, it's driving me nuts.
Well, but
obviously book Claudia that certainly did not happen to her.
Yeah, so here's the problem: introducing this element that was not present in the books, right?
Creates this.
It creates a different narrative. But I always felt like this was something that Anne Rice wanted to explore, right? I don't know if you know this. This is subjective, but she hinted to this during an interview on MTV. A lot of this is based on the relations of her son, the interactions, as a homosexual male,
right?
And she built a lot of this from that. Some of it. I won't say. It's
actually really interesting if you really want to go into it. So like, she made them homosexuals because like based on her son, her older son, and like she had a little girl who died of leukemia, who was Claudia, and she's Louis, and Lestat is her husband. And when she was depressed after their daughter's death, he quickly got over it, and he was like, well, "You should rejoin the world." And she thought of him as the devil for wanting to rejoin the world. Yeah, and that's where Lestat being an abusive asshole comes from.
So let's talk about that for a second. So we have to talk about. So there's only one thing I want to confront you on in your review, and I've never done this before, but in regards to Lestat's French accent, if you would have ended that video and not addressed the fact that it's old French, I was going to be really cross with you. Like, I was going to be really cross with you. I'm like, this man speaks a different type of French, and that's why you can't place his accent.
Right.
it's amazing how much more I enjoy this Lestat versus Tom Cruise's adaptation of Lestat.
I absolutely agree. I love Tom Cruise and I love that movie.
That was a great
still,
movie.
This is a better Lestat.
Yeah, because it really fills in those gaps. Like, and it tugs at a portion where you're going to have to really consider it when you watch this episode. Louis admits to being emotionally abusive to Lestat or manipulative to Lestat after Claudia leaves. Like, he takes pleasure in attacking Lestat and making him feel guilty.
Yeah, Louis not. He's not innocent.
He's not innocent. He's not innocent.
He's that. He's the woman who takes jabs at her husband.
Right. Now,
nipping at that poor man.
Good. Now, the crazy thing is, man, it was a great episode. I'm going to give it a 10 of 10. Let me just get into that point.
Oh, wait, before you go on real quick.
Go for it.
Public says it's a tortured story. The fact that she's a vampire to begin with is already crossing a line. So, yeah, some fucked up shit is going to happen to her. I don't feel like it's exploitive. Okay, I feel you on that.
I think Public's responding to the direct commentary of Louis saying he doesn't want to exploit her, but it wasn't an element that was present in the book.
Like, Lady says, no worries, I'm used to it. Sorry. And then Reese says, fellow Masquerade fans, yo, I'm a huge Masquerade fan.
Yes, we are.
We used to play Masquerade all the time. Today I'm gonna play not today, but I'm gonna try to get together what I call a Mascium, which is a combination. Is my homebrew of Masquerade and Requiem. We're gonna play on Discord.
I'm into it.
Hell yeah.
Let me tell you guys about how good of a GM. I don't like to compliment Mantis on the show because
he hates it.
Yeah, but
he's my Lestat. No mo.
No mo. Let me just say, I remember one of the best Masquerade games we ever started, but we never got to finish, was while we were walking from the village back up to the Heights, and I was working at Norman's, and it was one of your, no, I wasn't working at Norman's, my bad. I was working at Satellite Records, and it was one of our better games where we were just building the characters, and you told us out the gate, this is going to be a more horror-based games, no bullshit. Everything you do is going to impact each other. And I remember when the opening portions for my character was, you started it with me being in the record store as a human. You gave me it was you. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do.
It was a great game. Let's go ahead.
I gotta say, well, no, I'm about to toot my own horn. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'm a crazy GM. I've thrown in some crazy shit.
It's an unforgiving God.
Yeah. But I'm saying I put in some twists and turns that people are like, "Yo, I remember Lindsay. Remember Sully's girlfriend, Lindsay?
Oh yeah.
I had her younger sister, and she has a younger sister, but no health problems. Her younger sister got leukemia because she's a human, and throughout the story, slowly withered away. And I remember, Lindsay was feeling feelings, man, about her dying sister. I felt like I'm doing my job as a storyteller. I'm making her feel for a fictional.
You feel this hypothetical situation.
You feel this pain, don't you, bitch?
Public says, I like how the show adds these real life layers to Louis and Claudia, where because they are Black, Claudia is young, a woman. Like, these are the kind of things that would happen to them. So I want to address that. Mantis is Haitian by descent, and I am Creole by descent. Like, I hold no ill will towards you for that.
I mean, if there is ill will, that's the white man creating the beef between us.
I hold no ill will towards you or your family, but I do find myself resonating with this show in a way that is deeply personal to me, to see the behaviors of my forefolk played out in the vampire story. I do agree that it fills in the gaps, right? Because the one thing I think in the movie, it happens so sudden that Claudia really starts to develop this disdain for Lestat. In fact, the scene where it happens is they break into her room and they find a corpse in her room.
And they're like, you're letting it, and she's drawing it, but they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're letting something rot.
Exactly. But, there are other things going on in this episode that are so amazing. Like, Lestat is really, really, really drawn to Louis in the most abusive and, like, there's a line where Man, he says something to Louis at one point, and I'm like, man, that's right out of the abuser's textbook. He's like, just tell me you don't love me.
Yeah.
It would really help me if you just said you don't love me. And I'm like, wow.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And so there's a second thing that I have an issue with this episode. Because here's what I'm saying. What I really loved about the novel, Lestat, is that he is verbally abusive. And he literally says in the novel, I would never harm you. And he's harming all these people around them, but he never actually physically takes arms against them. His real weapon is his words, which are so horrible. He knows the right words to make you feel like shit at any moment.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
And they made him a physical abuser in this one, and I was like,
so they went there. They went there. She pushed him to the point of no return, right? Which was the trigger, which is Louis leaving with her, and he forced, he chokes her, and then Louis attacks, and I think this is the first time you realize between the two actors the physical disparity. The guy who plays Louis, shout out to Grey Worm, is a smaller guy than the guy who plays Lestat.
Yeah, he's fit, but he's still like a slim guy. But it's true, Lestat's like big dude.
He's a brolic guy, and that's hidden very well under the very beautiful.
He's always wearing suits. He's always wearing suits, and I feel you.
But also, he's his sire, right? And this addresses that element squarely. Your maker is going to sun you every time, and they start doing their speedster fighting. All of that is crazy. You know what made it a real domestic situation? When he's telepathically talking to Claudia, he's like, it's okay, just stay right there, we're just having a disagreement, we're gonna be okay. And then the next scene is of Lestat
pushing him through the wall, like slam, oh my god. And actually what I thought you were gonna say is that they focus solely on her, not the fight.
Yes,
and it's from her perspective of a child being terrorized by by one parent beating the shit out of the other parent.
Yes,
and I was even scared for her. Like she goes up the stairs and she's like crying and freaking, and the wall bursts open and she's just so scared she doesn't know where to go. There's no safe place to go. There's no nothing. That was I'm gonna admit that was done so well.
And this is what I'm talking about. If you're going to do commentary, if you're going to bring a social aspect in it, you need to be talented. You have to have the talent to do it. There's a moment where he's punching Louis before Louis does his second attempt to overpower him. He's literally like decking him and telling him, don't make me do this. Don't make me do this. And then when they go to the telepathic, you hear they're arguing. Lestat's like, don't you realize I'm holding back right now? And then I guess he stopped holding back.
So let me ask you, when they does the flying up, and I see, unfortunately, Reese says, damn, I really need to start the show. I'm sorry, Reese. For spoiling all this. I didn't realize that you didn't know either. But in the show, when he flies him up and he's biting him and he flies him up, didn't Armand do that to Lestat?
I don't recall that, but I need to go look at it. But here's one thing you should be aware.
I remember that scene happened, but it wasn't between those two. It was different vampires.
So here's one thing that they're doing well. Not every vampire has the power of flight, and that's something usually relegated to like older vampires, like very powerful vampires. And if you read the Vampire Chronicles, Lestat arguably becomes the one, I would say, the most powerful vampire after
eventually. Yeah, and it's so funny. You know how I told you that he's the husband? Well, she wrote the first one being like he's the son of a bitch. And when she finally was over her mourning period and she realized, she saw him more of as she was like, oh, I misunderstood my husband. And so that's why she started writing him more in a heroic way.
So let's get into that. Obviously, the next episode is going to deal with the fallout of the abuse. Now, is Lestat an abuser, or did Louis bring this on himself?
You're blaming.
No, I'm not victim blaming. I'm asking the question because they present that narrative in the show. Louis clearly has been attacking Lestat verbally.
Okay, but I'm saying like in domestic violence.
No.
Here's what I'm saying. There are plenty of women who mouth off. Are they mouthing off? Yes, they are.
No. But are they doing it over a quarter of a century? They literally locked themselves in the house with each other. So let's keep the dynamic.
Actually, let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't understand this whole they become hoarders, and I love how it's funny. They're panning around the apartment, and there's a fucking raccoon just hanging out with them.
Yes. Yeah.
I literally laughed out loud. I said, "What the hell is a raccoon doing there? They're so lazy. They won't chase a raccoon out of their house."
Right.
That's really hitting the deep end, right?
So they missed the roaring 30s, right? And they're just like laying in there, and Lestat is still going out, and he's still doing his thing with the chick from the fucking bar who he should have killed by now, right? I love that he addresses that. He's like, it's just a momentary fleeing. I'll kill her soon. And it's like clear he's not going to kill her anytime soon. But Louis is taking joy in guilt tripping Lestat over Claudia leaving, over Claudia's behavior. Now the question becomes, you said in your review, don't call me Uncle what?
Yeah, don't call me Uncle Les.
Don't call me Uncle Les.
Yes, in my review of it, I literally start off, I was like, don't call me Uncle Les. I'm your creator. You call me sire, lord, master, or whatever, but you do not call me uncle. That is disrespectful.
Well, that suggests that there should be a certain level of reverence that they should have for.
If I make a vampire, that you bet you don't call me fucking uncle.
So then how can you call Lestat? These are questions. We're talking about the plot. Did Louis just step out of line from his maker? This is a new dynamic. We want to ship them, and we want to make Louis the housewife, and that's how Louis sees the situation. But Lestat does not see the situation like that. He's conflicted. Like, I'm your maker and I love you, but I'm your maker.
Well, you know what? He needs to put the ground rooms down. I would have put the ground rooms down with her, but of course she was going through hormones and vampirism, and that's pretty complicated. But I don't know, in terms of him and him.
Oh, wait, hold on for a second. Pubs just said something that's like,
what?
LOL. No, fuck that, because turning someone into a vampire isn't usually consensual, but it was this time, because the core principle of Lestat's character in the books is, so I don't know how many people have read the Vampire Chronicles. Do you know why Lestat always gives his people a choice?
It's right, because he never had a choice. He was not given that choice. He gives you a choice, but he drains you to the point of death, and he's like, I'm giving you a choice. You can join me or die. It's your fight. Yes. It's not consensual. I feel you. And so I think public is pointing out that in terms of Claudia, it wasn't consensual.
But that was Louis' decision, not Lestat.
Right. But still, I would argue it doesn't matter if it's consensual. I saved your unlife. You're gonna respect my ass in my house, little girl.
Well, Claudia is meant to be a representation of like rebellious youth, right?
You mean sassy little bitches who don't listen? I'm not your uncle. I'm your maker. Reese says exactly. I've read the books a million times. I don't care how much I'll spoil. Knowing there's good Vampire Chronicles content there has me stoked.
Reese, you should be very stoked. It's very good. I'm not disappointed at all. Lestat chose him and prayed on him. And Pump says, that's not a real choice. Actually, it is a real choice because you could choose to die.
Right. And so actually, let me go back to it. And I'm sorry, this is spoiling everything.
Wait, just real quick, before you go back to that, let's just make sure we put the appropriate context. When Louis is recounting the situation of him being turned to Daniel, he says Lestat had a way about him. He was cognizant enough in that moment. This wasn't present in the book, but we're talking about the show. He's cognizant enough to know that Lestat was working him. He was working him. And remember, they spent time with each other. He knew this was someone that was otherworldly.
I hate to sound like a prick right now. I'm probably going to be very whatever. I'll fucking talk. The truth is that we're all working somebody to get something. And I know this sounds horrible, but the truth is like, for instance, you meet a girl in a bar and you're buying her drinks and you're complimenting her. You're working her over, right? And so everyone's doing this. Everyone's working some angle to try to get something out of someone.
No. I disagree with you, my good brother. Well, let me not say I disagree with you. There are levels to this, right? There are levels to a person trying to compliment someone to the end of getting head in the fucking bar at the, 8th Street bar that we all used to go to back in the day. Like, okay, yes, I get what you're saying there. But there's a different level when you just watched someone rip a priest's head off, right, with his teeth, and then punch another one through it, and then still decide to make the decision to join him in eternity, right? And don't forget the time they spent with each other prior to that. It wasn't like Lestat wasn't doing otherworldly things. He was dominating people in front of Louis.
Right. Oh, yes. He already knew he had supernatural powers. Remember the dinner. Remember the dinner with the family? And he's just like, he starts dominating his brother and he says, don't do that. Not here.
Yeah.
So he knew it was some sort of supernatural thing, right?
Yeah. And Lestat didn't use his powers on Louis. That's the thing that he loves about Louis. In fact, I hate to do this. You're going to be mad about this, I think, but I've always thought that what is his name? Twilight. You know how the chick in Twilight has the ability to kind of rebuke the powers of the vampires? He was immune to them. They kind of stole that from Louis. Louis has had an uncanny ability in the books.
Twilight is just a endless plagiarism of good vampire.
But at any rate, I cut you off, my friend. So you were trying to say that Lestat's not an abuser because, go ahead.
No, he is he absolutely is an abuser. But what I am saying is that like you said, like you already said enough of it. Louis knew who he was joining.
Yeah.
Before he wanted Claudia to join them in the undead existence, he knew what was happening. He knew what a prick Lestat was. Like for instance, I'm a sane man. If I had an abusive lover like that, I would literally be like, I'm going to let this girl die because I do not want her near my lover. You know, say that's response. I would have been a responsible vampire.
I think the thing I love about this is, like, even from Pub's last statement, exactly Lestat was working him. I think we don't give enough credit to the person who's being worked. Have you ever seen a movie called Hustle and Flow with Terrence Howard?
I love that movie.
Do you remember the young lady, the young white lady that's in the movie with him? She went on to be in Orange is the New Black, and he's spinning game on her throughout the entire movie. And at one point, she stops him. She's like, "You know what? Sometimes I really like when you fuck with my head. It lets me forget the things that I'm doing. But right now, I'm not gonna let you do it."
Right.
Lestat spun a web that Louis was intrigued with, and he spun that web based off what he knew of Louis. Now, the interesting thing is we got to see how episode 6 plays this out. I'm just going to say this, man. This was an amazing episode.
I was pissed about a few things, but still, I felt an emotional. I still love the show. I'm not hating on the show. I was just like, wait, they're gonna do that to Claudia? Wait, they're gonna have a domestic.
Bro, imagine when they introduce Armand. This show is heading in the right direction. I'm just thinking about characters like Marius. Like when they introduce Marius, I gotta be honest with you. I was trying to find something after quitting Game of Thrones to really like draw me in. I knew what I was giving up on Game of Thrones, but this show has really pulled me there.
Reese says, I'm leaving. I'm going to watch the show. Yo, enjoy the show, brother. It's amazing. Check the thing out. This show is amazing. Later, guys. Peace, Reese. Thank you for stopping in. I love Hustle and Flow, says Public. I agree with that. They were talking about if Lestat's an abuser. He's an abuser and Louis is an enabler. That's why they were perfect for each other. I agree. They are both both have their issues. I blame. I'm very critical of Louis.
Yeah.
I know he thought that maybe that's why Anne Rice had a second child. Maybe why she had the daughter who died of leukemia. But however, maybe that's what she was pointing out. But however, Louis should have known better than to bring a child into this abusive relationship.
That's great, and I love the Claudia comments on after Louis. The same only thing that dragged for me in this show was the sister attachment, because spoiler alert, I feel like they're stealing that from another character in the Vampire Chronicles, whose name I don't want to throw out there because
also it's low energy.
Yeah,
the mom was high energy. The sister, I don't fucking care about the drama with the sister.
It actually just feels ungrateful to me. Like, this man has done everything in the darkness to keep his family in the light. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe I'm drawing on too much personal experience right now, but you were okay with the darkness when he was doing these things to keep you all in fine, fresh Cajun linen.
Right.
You know, now you want to blame him for the death of the brother. Honestly, I'm surprised that we haven't found out that Lestat caused his brother's suicide. I
think it's so obvious that he did. I can't believe that hasn't been brought up, but I assume it's going to come up.
I assume it's going to come up. I think Pubs had a great, that's a great one right there.
Yes, I agree. We're talking about if Lestat's an abuser, he's an abuser. Louis
Next one.
I feel like this show is giving me what they took from me when they canceled Lovecraft Country. I agree. I felt that.
Good commentary.
Especially the way it ends, Lovecraft Country. I cannot believe they canceled it. It drove me nuts. But that tracks with Anne Rice basing Louis off her son. No, and Claudia would have been her sister if she's based on her daughter. Yeah. So yeah, she wants to. I do love. I thought that was really sweet. She's like, I realized it was created to be Louis' sister, but we all know, like, ultimately, it's that because vampire relationships are very complicated. But another thing is, she's meant to be the child, like the way people have children to fix their broken marriages.
Yeah. Especially in the show. In the movie, they presented her as kind of the scorned lover that could never truly have Louis. And in fact, they hit on that in the show. She's like, who's going to F me? Are you guys going to F me?
Right.
And I was just like, ouch.
And actually, I love that Lestat literally says, I like a more curvy woman. No. He literally answered her.
Yeah, she responds to that later. She's like, and he's off gallivanting with her flat ass. And I'm like,
oh God. But you know what I do?
Go for it.
You know what I'm not loving? I don't like that they haven't shown happy times, because we all know that in the book they had happy times before the dark times.
Yes, before the dark times.
I wish they had shown happy times.
They did that really well in the book when Lestat's with her and she's getting the dress made. And
there was really great moments. And that's the same thing with Louis, though. Louis is embraced, and then he has good times with Lestat until he realizes eventually that eventually he's like, wait a minute, I'm living in hell, and my jailer is, Lestat's not my maker or my lover, he's my jailer. I feel like giving them what they took. Fucking love Lestat. I love this Lestat. I will say he's better than Tom Cruise. I do love Tom Cruise in general as an actor, but I like this one. He's certainly more European. There were happy times before her boyfriend died. I wish they had they should have had longer. I agree. I think Public, you are right. They should have had the happy times last longer.
Yes.
I hope. Are they gonna get into happy times and then get back into sad times?
So I want to address another thing you brought up in your review. Shout out to you. That was a great review.
Thank you.
So in regards to Claudia in season 1, I agree that she should stretch out into season 2, only because I think it takes season 2 to fully describe her demise. Right? I think it takes another season.
They can't skirt over it real quick. That would be so stupid.
Yeah, because they've already dropped a hint of her wanting to go to Europe and stuff like that.
And I want them to spend a couple episodes in Europe at least.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
So the last thing I'm going to say about this. The worst representation in the movie was Armand, even though I enjoyed Antonio Banderas's portrayal of Armand. I
always laugh because do you watch What We Do in the Shadows?
No, you keep telling me to watch it, but I got to get into it.
So they have a familiar, human who serves them, and he's a Spanish kid, and like when they do like these little interviews with him, and he says the one who influenced me to be a vampire is Antonio Banderas. And I said, when I saw an interview with a vampire and I saw a Spanish man could do it, I knew I could do it. That's why every time you bring it up, I laugh. I chuckle. I'm like, he's influencing all the Hispanic kids to become.
You want to talk about overacting? Antonio Banderas is truly himself in every movie, and it's like but Armand.
I love his performance. You're right, it's overacting, but he's like, no, it has already begun. Who is this the spot you think of?
Also, I love that little perverted vampire, the Frenchman. He was like, "Who is the Lestat? There's only one crime amongst us vampires. There's only one
guy."
Oh, you know what's another great scene in this episode? The fact that Amir or Sadir, I forget the cat's name, the serf that works for Louis, says that this is a suicide letter. What do you think is going to happen when the other vampires read this book? They're going to come to Dubai, they're going to scale the sides of the skyscraper, and they're going to rip him apart when they read this. And I was like, yes, because that's the one thing they really Queen of the Dam was so bad. The one thing they really, it's not Louis. It's Lestat becoming a pop star that kicks this whole shit off. And the vampires are like, what the fuck? And I love that. I love that. And that's essentially the reason Akasha, spoiler alert, the Queen of the Dam herself, awakens, right? She, Lestat awakens to hearing rock music. Pubs, I'm sure you already read it, but go reread it. When Lestat wakes up to rock bands playing music, so well written by Anne Rice. But when Akasha wakes up to the thought of Lestat, also very well written. I'm really excited to see where the show goes, man. I hope we get at least 5 seasons. I think they can wrap this whole thing up in 5 seasons if they do
it. Actually, that's interesting. Where do you think it should end?
I think it should end with Memnoch. I've always thought that the Vampire Chronicles should have ended with Memnoch the Devil.
So wait, they should have Memnoch in there.
Yes.
Then I think more than 5 seasons.
So you think it was 7, 8?
Yeah.
Because I can see that. Memnoch.
I honestly think 2 seasons to do interview.
Yeah.
Maybe a season or 2 for Lestat.
Right.
And so you know what I'm saying? So already we're in 4, right?
Yeah.
Because here's what I'm saying. I would be very upset if within 10 episodes they sum up Interview with the Vampire. They haven't even gone to Europe. I think it's too early to go to Europe.
Yeah.
Explore Europe, find those theater guys, and then
The only way they could do that is if this is a 10 episode season. I could see them so we're on episode 5. Let's say next week is just her attempting to kill Lestat. 4 more episodes. If they leave for Europe directly after that, episode 6, at the end of it, if we spent 4 full episodes in Europe, then that would be I'd be cool with that.
Because the movie skipped over Europe immediately.
Yeah, so
they went to Europe and they're like, we hung out, and then 50 years later we found some vampires. And
we found a motherfucker walking
all
around.
Their exploration and all these things.
But no, I definitely think it should end with Memnoch because it wraps really well with Lestat being the central character in the lore, and Memnoch is such an interesting tale about Lestat himself because now the shoe is reversed. It's about Lestat being seduced by someone that's better at the game than him. That's what the book Memnoch.
Well, isn't Memnoch where Lestat gains powers to cross time and space?
He doesn't gain the powers. Memnoch takes him around. The devil, Lucifer, takes him around. So
I'm saying that gets really weird. Right?
No. It doesn't.
By the way, I never read it. I stopped at Body. I stopped after Body Thief.
I think Body Thief. Body Thief is before Memnoch, bro. I'm telling you, read that book because it literally is the reverse of what he did to Louis. That's all it is. It's have you ever wondered okay, is anyone smarter than Lestat? Yes, Memnoch is.
No, I do need to check it out. I absolutely need
great book. This has been a great episode, man. We went really nerdy.
Great episode. I'm having a great time, man.
It's great to have Pubs in here.
Thanks for being a vampire fan, man. I love that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Same with Lainey and Reese and all you guys. Thank you, everyone who stopped in.
Yes. And all the people we scared away with the potential of vampires.
I'm telling you about my erections and stuff. Well, we've had a great episode. It's been a great week. We've got a lot of information. Love this fucking show. Thank you so much, Pubs. We love you. Any final thoughts?
Excited. It's a good time to be a nerd again. We got competition brewing with DC. We got something good stuff. We got interview. I wanted to talk about spoiling Game of Thrones for myself and seeing a very tragic death at the very last episode, but now I need to go watch it to figure out what the fuck
happened. Yo, catch up with watch it. You will love it. It's good.
It's all the incest, man. I can't fucking do it. I can't deal with all the incest, man. Also,
every show has its shit to deal with. Like, for instance, the homoerotica of Interview with a Vampire will turn people off. It's still a great show.
Let me address that. You know why that's not an issue to deal with? Because it was present in the books. Even though they weren't penetrating each other, it was present in the book. So it's not like, it's not a thing, man. I will say this, man. Shout out to Mantis and I. We're finally quelling the beef between Creole people and the treacherous people, which he hails from, the Haitians.
We created your asses. It's actually funny that it's funny that you guys think you're better than us because you're light skinned, and here we are. This is ironic. Their descendants are reversed right now. The Haitian is the light skin. The Creole is the dark skin. What is happening?
Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow for Dope Dynamics right after Rogue Planet. What do you got for Rogue Planet tomorrow? Any guests?
I'm gonna have some guests on, not telling you who they are. Very surprised. However, we are going to be talking about the best horror movies to watch right now. Okay. It is the week of Halloween. Monday is Halloween. If you're not in your spooky mode, you need to get in it right now.
Get in it. Get in her. Get in her.
We love you all, your guys.
He's gonna drink his NyQuil.
As soon as this broadcast ends, I hit my NyQuil. I'm passing out.
You should have drank it a half hour ago, so we could have had the optimal show.
Oh, which me like being like, and another thing about the Jews. Like me just being totally honest. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. Princess Beck says, fan girls for fan boys. I love it.
Right. That's
great
right.
show. Thank you, Bex. Thank you, public friend. Thank you, Lainey. Thank you all. And until next time, guys, ciao for now. Cool, blamo.